Hey guys, this is Anime Ball Z here, and today we are going to be doing the first part to what if Goku got stronger from pain. Please like the video if you haven't already and subscribe. It's totally free and you can unsubscribe whenever you want. There's nothing much else I'd like to say in the intro, so without further ado, let's get into the video.
Slick talker since a jit. Winter time, all the time, ooh, yeah. Look at the way that I move, swag, disrespectful and I'm rude, okay. I had cocaine in the school.
In this what if Goku has the ability to grow from any and every form of damage, physical, mental, emotional, you name it. During his training with Grandpa Gohan, he finds that he makes a lot of progress. When he is trained to the limit and advances his physical stamina and strength, not just the training makes him grow, but the damage to his body as well. Whenever he does something that hurts a lot, he actually feels himself getting slightly stronger right after. Whenever he has a really hard session and feels exhausted, he feels like a new person after he recovers. By the time of Grandpa Gohan's death, his power level is already at 100 due to this. Just from the sheer volume of training, he is an absolute phenom. Grandpa Gohan is eager to train him because of this, to get him to calm the storm and use it as a weapon, not to let it control him instead. This only makes his death that much more gruesome. Sadly, Goku turns into an Uzaru when he looks at the moon and turns into a raging beast. Grandpa Gohan can do nothing to resist, and Goku is left to mourn him once he is gone. This trauma, this sense of loss, the endless nights of sorrow and tears, every teardrop fuels him. In weeks he doesn't really know it, but he's growing as if he's been left in the center of an intense battlefield, fighting day in and day out. His power level grows to a whopping 300 by this point. It's since he has lost the only person he knows at this point pretty much. It's a massive hit to his mental. It's by far the most traumatizing thing that's happened to him in his entire life. The numerous days spent alone and lonely only add to his strength as well. To try and take out this sadness and pain, he trains and he trains hard. Finding a tree to do some practice on, he throws a light jab but finds that he sends the tree flying off, toppling another from sending it flying. It feels weird to have this much power from out of nowhere. He has no clue because he's gotten so strong, but he certainly isn't complaining. By the time Bulma comes around searching for her Dragon Balls, it just isn't an issue. Goku is so strong that whoever stands in their way he can take down soundly. He is fearless as he does so, which does make his power pretty much plateau. However, it's so high already that there really isn't an issue. Kami, the god of Earth, is stood at the edge of the lookout as he just takes in everything that's happening below. One person that has ended up in his view quite a lot recently is Goku. He doesn't quite understand how the boy is so strong, but not only that, how has he grown so strong so fast? It was mainly after Grandpa Gohan's death. Now he can sense his ki faintly all the way up from the lookout if he tries hard enough. Even Mr. Popo is aware of what's going on. The good thing is, the boy is totally pure of heart, so there isn't much to fear. To be honest, it's probably better that they have such a strong kid to rely on for the Earth's protection. Next, Master Roshi is up to train Goku. This training gives him great insight, and the discipline of his training regime provides some form of mental damage. This is due to him constantly doing things that he doesn't enjoy or want to do. This only makes him stronger. Along with his intense solo training, the power he gains is somewhat large. He grows to a power level of about 450 from the constant training and totally new lifestyle. This is nowhere near as significant as the death of his adopted grandfather Gohan, so the increase in power isn't as much. Also, Master Roshi can't give him any form of training that physically strains him a lot besides just his solo training. All the other forms of training like fighting technique and battle intelligence, it doesn't really affect his power. Still, it means that no foe can take him down. In the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, nobody proves to be a threat, not even Jackie Chun when he uses his full power. Goku destroys all the fighters and even leaves Jackie Chun in quite a bad state from accidentally using too much strength. Following this point, he faces the Red Ribbon Army, and since he is so powerful here, they can't do much to tame him. Knowing the evils that are conducted by this organization, he can let himself go a little more. Mercenary Tao and the Samurai Quadruplet stand no chance against him. He takes down all the fighters and the arc ends rather seamlessly. It's only Dr. Gero that is witty enough to slip through the cracks and escape before he is killed as well. Fortune teller Baba's ghoulish gladiators stand even less of a chance against Goku now. However, when he sees Grandpa Gohan, he's elated. The mental pain that he gets from thinking back to Grandpa Gohan's death is much less now that it happened a while ago. Seeing Grandpa Gohan again made it much easier for him to look back to the days when he was alive and not mourn him in the process. What follows is 3 whole years of training. Goku grows from the ordinary Saiyan Zenkais, but also from the damage and pain of training extremely hard. He finds that if he hits himself with things like ki blasts and takes full power Kamehameha waves, he grows more. This means that his training is a lot more bloody and grueling than one would expect. His power level then reaches 850 as a result. He's been training for a long time following this procedure, and this just facilitates his growth. Kami can see that he truly has a powerhouse as the Earth's protector. He really should be the Kami at this point. There are still things he could teach him, but he has eclipsed his power by a large margin. It's actually quite scary to see how strong he is and how fast he's reached this point. Goku in the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai swiftly makes his way to the final and ends up against Tien. The gap between him and Tien is simply too large. Tien can't even leave a dent on him, and Goku can just use his far superior strength and speed to send him flying off the ring. Goku is crowned the strongest martial artist in the world back to back, establishing quite the identity with the spectators. After the tournament, Krillin is still killed by Tambourine. How this affects Goku compared to the death of Grandpa Gohan is far different though. Arriving by his corpse, his power starts to explode. The only thing in his mind is him reiterating to himself that this is his fault. He can't keep it contained. Loss, anger, sorrow. It feels different to see his dead body here and to know that his death was practically his own fault. Why did he have to forget his things? Why did he have to be so clumsy? Look at what has happened now. These thoughts continue to race through his mind like a swarm of bees trapped in a small jar. Tears run down his cheeks and he shouts at the very top of his lungs, letting absolutely everything go. His power level grows and reaches past 1,000, and this mental pain, it only continues to add to his strength. His crying continues, and the feeling of power that grows within him almost makes him cry more. It's a warm feeling that he has attributed to growing strength, but it just constantly reminds him of the death of his friend, his death at his own hands. His power carries on growing and plateaus at about 1,200. It's not like the pain is gone though, it's slowly but surely climbing, but he has something else on his mind now. He wants to find whoever did this and pulverize them. Hopping straight on his flying Nimbus, he often soon finds his way to Tambourine. Flying beside him, he leaps straight off his Nimbus and drives down his leg into his back, launching him straight down from the skies. It shoots him down like an arrow. Goku cannot control this new strength that he's acquired. Tambourine goes crashing into the ground, and the collision releases a cloud of dust as trees topple and dirt is ejected out from the floor. Goku dives down and is saved by his Nimbus before he hits the ground as well, then sees the unmoving Tambourine ahead of him. The job is done. Shortly after, he meets Yajirobe and they still have a little spar. Unlike before, this spar is not equal at all. Goku finds it very easy to beat the swordsman, since he is just way stronger at this point. King Piccolo also sent off Symbol, but the duo of Yajirobe and Goku destroy him before anything can happen. King Piccolo then flies off to confront Goku directly, tired of his shenanigans. He tries his best to intimidate the boy with his greater stature and size, but Goku stands firmly and confidently. Judging from the ki he can sense from this being, he shouldn't be much of an issue. He can also see that this man is terribly aged. He isn't human, of course, but you can still see the wrinkles on his skin, and from his hoarse voice, it's clear that he's been around for a very long time. King Piccolo speeds off toward him, but he leaps up and kicks him in the face, sending him flipping and flying away. Goku lands again and swivels around his arms elegantly before entering his stance yet again. King Piccolo wants to just rush back in and get his get back, but he stumbles to the floor upon raising up too quickly. That strike really took him out and rocked him well. Looking down, he can also see blood dripping from his nose and a knocked out tooth. What sort of power does this kid possess? He is left flustered by Goku's subsequent advance, and Goku drives up his fist, hurling him away. The second attack leaves King Piccolo unable to respond. He just lies on the ground minutes from death. Goku waits for a few seconds, but then retreats once he sees that he most likely won't be getting up. He hasn't even done as much as twitch in the time he's taken to watch him, and so it seems unlikely that anything will happen. As he looks over, the fallen Namekian, Master Roshi with Yamcha and Tien arrive. They've acquired the Dragon Balls, and they're going to wish for Krillin to come back. Goku is stopped just before the wish is completed, and since King Piccolo doesn't seem to be getting up, he isn't alerted to his presence. The wish is made and Krillin is revived. They all rejoice upon feeling his ki once again, and his body is reanimated back at the tournament. He swiftly arrives at the group and they all celebrate once they see that he is back with them. Seconds later though, the Dragon Balls deactivate. They assume it's due to the wish being made, but no, they don't even disperse in the sky like usual. They turn to dull, unmoving rocks, and King Piccolo's ki has vanished. On the lookout, Mr. Popo weeps and weeps at the death of his closest friend. Kami is dead and King Piccolo is too. Nobody knows quite what's happened at first, but Goku ends up learning of what has happened from Korin. It's quite sad to hear, and Goku won't get that training from the Namekian since he's dead. None of them really knew who he was, and Mr. Popo knows that Kami wouldn't want to be revived anyway. With his purity and benevolence comes the darkness and malevolence of King Piccolo. Two sides of the same coin, two halves of the same man. Maybe the world will be calmer, more peaceful without him. Since Kami is gone, Mr. Popo wears his gi and takes on the mantle of God of Earth. Goku does his usual training and is able to grow from the physical pain exerted on himself during training and the Zenkai boosts that he gains from recovering. This accelerates his training and makes him progress more than he usually would, bringing his power level up to an astonishing 2000. By far the strongest on the planet, he prepares for the 2013 Tenkaichi Budokai and takes it home with ease. Tien trained hard to try and come back and beat him. His power level has grown to 400, but it still isn't enough. The strongest martial artist is still Goku, and his position won't be threatened for a long time. For these next 5 years, Goku doesn't spend time experiencing much pain at all. No, he spends these years with his loving family, being there to watch his son Gohan grow. Whenever his son cries though, he can feel his small ki enlarge and intensify by a small amount. Once he calms, that growth remains. It seems like his son is similar to him. By the time of Dragon Ball Z, Gohan's power level is 80. Very impressive for a kid that hasn't really trained much, and it only continues to grow when he experiences any form of pain. Raditz arrives on Earth and immediately picks out the only strong ki signature on this planet. Coming from his brother, his power level is at around 350 when he is suppressed here. This makes him unbothered of what could happen to him. His brother is astoundingly weak. It will be easy to do what he needs to here. He interrogates him and explains to him the mission that he should have completed by now, to take down the humans and prepare the planet to be sold. Goku finds this shocking. He has never been told such a thing. Raditz goes in to snatch his son, and since Goku is so suppressed here, it works like a charm. Gohan screams with fear and can't release himself from his uncle's grasp. Goku looks distressed upon seeing this happen as well. He wasn't looking for his fight, but seeing his son in such a position, there is no option. Powering up, he lifts off and jumps straight toward him. Punching him in the chest, he cracks his armor and manages to make Raditz lose his grasp on his nephew. Gohan goes flying out into the waters, but Goku catches him before pulling him back to shore. Goku actually doesn't know how to fly here since he was never taught by Kami. Therefore, he has to enter the water and push through it to get back to land. Raditz is annoyed at that sucker punch from his brother and goes in to attack him. Elbowing him in the face, he goes in to kick him in the chest. However, Goku blocks both hits and feels the fuzzy feeling that he usually gets. The pain from each strike strengthens him. Raditz then rushes ahead and drives up with an uppercut, landing the hit cleanly. This throws his whole head back and Goku carries on taking hit after hit. His body is strong enough to not take grave damage from each attack, but there is still pain there. This is what makes him stronger. Why won't you go down? Raditz roars, double drop kicking him to the edge of the island. Goku lets him land the attack right on his solar plexus and feels the force spread throughout his entire torso. He made sure to make that as painful as possible, letting it hit one of the most vulnerable parts of his body. Now this hurts him quite a lot. Even if Raditz is weaker, he isn't that much weaker, and taking such attacks totally unprotected really isn't an easy thing. However, he rises back up and feels the pain empower him. His power level has grown to 2100. Not much, but for the number of attacks that he's received, that's quite a good deal. Goku rushes forward and flusters Raditz with his speed. Clobbering him with the first massive punch, he grabs one of his loose arms to swing him overhead and slam him down. "I don't want to have to hurt you. Leave this place and I'll leave you alone," Goku shouts. Raditz manages to get back up, but those attacks hurt quite a bit more than the first punch he received. Not only that, but he can also see that his power level has risen slightly up to 2100. How has that happened? Raditz rushes back into attack, but Goku's had enough of his shenanigans. He slips to the left of his right fist, and in this same movement drives his fist into his gut. Raditz has basically run into his punch. That only adds to its force and shatters the armor on his torso. Tumbling down with plates of his armor crashing onto the ground, the surrounding waves of water rush under his hands, then the waters ebb away, leaving the damp ground beneath. This damp ground is soon covered by his own blood, and this now stains his gritted teeth. His younger brother has overpowered him somehow. How could a Saiyan, weakened and softened by these Earthlings, reach this point? Goku is close enough to his strength to the point where Raditz isn't very surprised. Maybe his brother just got better talent than him, but why? Why was he chosen and not him? Raditz doesn't see much use in fighting back if he will just get beat down again. You've been marked, Kakarot. Everyone on this planet has been marked. I'll come to this planet with fighters stronger than anyone you've ever seen. Trust me, if you don't let me complete your mission, they'll gladly cover it for us both, Raditz shouts before storming off. Goku is still taken aback by everything that has happened, seeing his son in such danger, his friends too. They heard what is to come and so they cannot rest. They must train, grow more powerful and prepare for the warriors that will come to Earth. Raditz never told them about a time frame as to when they'd be coming, so their training is even more intense than it was before. There isn't even a minute to waste. Goku trains his son and does so hard. This is only to keep him safe. These Saiyans could come at any day for all they know. Goku focuses on making himself feel as much pain as he can. It doesn't leave him in the best mental state, but he's willing to tap into this darkness and suffering if it means others get to survive. He hits himself with blasts, curved kamehamehas aimed straight onto his person. He does anything and everything to break himself down, then recover to become more powerful. This harsh training only leaves him with mental pain, and that makes him grow even further. It makes Goku a little more serious than we've known him to be though. To make it through the training that he's put himself through, he must be a little more serious and hardcore. Soon the time passes and the group are still training harder than ever. Luckily for them, they've all been replenished by senzu beans when the Saiyans arrive on Earth. Goku's power level has skyrocketed. This level of training isn't something that he's put himself through before, and his power level is now at 10,000. Gohan's is close behind at 8,000, and Tien's is at 3,400. Krillin's is at 3,000, and Yamcha's is at 2,800. Chiatsu lags behind them slightly with a power level of 2,000, but for him that's still very impressive. The Saiyans arrive on Earth and destroy East City upon arrival. Raditz remains behind them, making sure to use them as a sense of security. Nappa can see this and isn't afraid to mock him for his fear and weakness. He felt like he had gotten used to the ridicule, but now that his brother is known to be stronger than him, it just feels that much more embarrassing, humiliating. Even his earthling of a brother is stronger than him. How? The Sea Fighters arrive at the scene and face these Saiyans directly. They stare them down fearlessly and don't look to falter at all. Goku is at the forefront of this group, with Gohan close by his side. However, with all their power levels suppressed, it only adds to the confidence of the Saiyans ahead of them. "Hello there, Kakarot. You said that he was stronger than you. What is this?" Vegeta asks, looking back to Raditz. "He is, I swear. All these Earthlings can suppress their battle power then reveal it later in battle," Raditz states. The other two just burst out laughing once they hear this. "Suppress their battle power? That doesn't exist," Nappa replies, shoving him back. "Let the Cybermen deal with these people," he furthers, planting their seeds. The green menacing fighters reveal themselves and soar toward the group of warriors. However, the humans decide to take these fighters on. Yamcha goes for one and severs it in half with a hand chop. Tien blasts one to smithereens, then Chiaotzu wrestles one to the ground before crushing its head with a punch. Krillin then sees 3 more of these Chiaotzu straight for him and decides to finish things off with a little bit of flair. Growing his Destructo Disc, he hurls it right at the trio of Cybermen and bisects all 3 of them. The Destructo Disc stays strong though and soars straight toward the Saiyans. They look quite surprised at first and all 3 of them leap out the way to avoid it. Vegeta elegantly steps away while Raditz is forced to drop to the ground and drops his head as fast as he can. It then crashes into a mountain and eventually explodes, leaving a lot of rubble in its wake. So, these humans weren't as weak as they assumed them to be. Their key signatures were initially hidden and it just completely fooled the Saiyans. However, Nappa should be enough. "Take out all these humans, bring down Kakarot and his son," Vegeta orders. Nappa nods and steps forward, crouching down slightly. He makes his stance before blasting right off toward the crew. Individually, the humans can't hold a flame to Nappa, but together, maybe they can think of something. They have more confidence than expected here and don't rely on the security of Gohan or Goku's power. No, they remain ahead of them and take the fight on themselves. Krillin swings in a Destructo Disc and Nappa flips right over it before crashing down into the crew. He double drop kicks Yamcha and his large mass and strength sends him flying back. He doesn't look to be in great shape at all, but he stands and spits out blood before rushing back into the fight. Tien manages to swing in and land a kick to his side. This then continues with a digging strike to one of his knees, but Nappa isn't going to take that assault lightly. Lifting Tien straight off his feet, he hurls him into Krillin, toppling them both. "I am no Cyberman, Earthlings. Is this really all you have?" Nappa shouts. The 3 continue on, and don't let the challenge put them down. All they have to do is rise to the occasion. As they passively attack and analyze, they soon identify Nappa's tendencies. Also, they start attacking him from various angles, fighting more 3-dimensionally and using awkward angles to catch him off guard. Tien charges straight at him, but Nappa tries to keep him away with a signature left hook to his face. However, Tien predicts, dips down and shouts vehemently as he launches a full power tri-beam at this close range. He lands it cleanly and manages to send Nappa sliding back. Just as he slides back here, Yamcha begins using his spirit ball to disorient him. Nappa continues looking around with sharp eyes to try and track the glowing ball of energy, but not while taking several hits in the process. However, he just slams his teeth together and takes the blast's explosion right away. Following this, the smoke clears and 3 Destructo Discs are flying straight at him. All he can do is stand there and watch with a slightly open mouth. His body seems to move on instinct, but it's far too late. These discs fly straight through his body, leaving him in 4 sections. He's been taken out by these humans, and Raditz can't believe it. This means that he stands absolutely no chance here, and Vegeta knows that. Therefore, he knows the fight is with him. Aiming straight at one of the humans, he shoots a blast, but Goku arrives and takes the blast head on. Now, this hurts a lot. Vegeta is nearly twice as strong as him, so he doesn't find it easy to just take his attacks easily like that. However, after that one hit, his power level has risen. He can feel the power deposited into his body. Goku asks for Vegeta to fight elsewhere, and he agrees. Gohan follows, and the humans watch on from a distance. The two Saiyans stare each other down, and Goku doesn't look as confident and sure as usual. There's a hint of fear in his expression, his micro movements. However, there's nothing that he can do. A true hero feels fear but carries on, does what he knows he must. Vegeta begins the fight and flies straight down toward him. Goku tries his best to face him and keep him at bay, but he just can't. Vegeta is the far superior physically, and his great talent gives him impressive technique. Goku gets totally beat down, and Vegeta continues fighting with a smile on his face. He relishes Goku's pain and inferiority, fueling his massive ego. Goku is left on top of a gizzard rock, coughing out blood and weak. The others look devastated upon seeing their greatest protector in such a state. What do? It doesn't look like Vegeta will give them any sort of mercy. He just looks down at Goku with a maniacal smile on his face. Raditz, watching on from a distance, doesn't even know what to think. At first he was supporting Vegeta, but for what? Nappa is dead and he didn't show a sliver of grief or sadness. He simply didn't care. What if he was the one that got killed? He knows that Vegeta wouldn't care in the slightest. Is this the person that he should follow as a leader, put his trust and safety in? The person he's fighting is his biological brother after all. Shouldn't he be hoping that he wins? Raditz remains conflicted and continues watching on at a distance. The humans have their eyes on him as he watches, skeptical of what he will do, but Raditz doesn't seem to move at all. He won't do anything rash, they believe. Goku, Krillin shouts, hurling down a senzu bean at him. Goku's power level has already risen up to 15,000 from this assault. He just let Vegeta go ham on him, which has left him not with just physical pain but a lot of mental pain from forcing himself to endure such suffering. Crunching on the senzu bean, his wounds vanish and he feels his body getting flooded with new power. His power level has risen to 24,000, well above where it was previously. We only have one left, Goku, Krillin shouts down. Alright, that should be enough anyway, Goku replies. Powering up to one leg, he stands back up and Vegeta doesn't look concerned. Goku leaps up with newfound speed and Vegeta's smile vanishes in just this split second of his flight. He receives a powerful uppercut to his chin that literally lifts him off the gizzard rock that he was stood on. Goku then jumps off the rock that Vegeta was on to kick him down with. Goku can't fly yet and so controls his descent by just flapping his hands to land on a rock below. Vegeta crashes straight through some rock and eventually controls himself before he lands on the floor. However, this isn't the end of Goku. He carries on taking over the battle, fighting and beating down Vegeta just like how Vegeta clobbered him previously. Grabbing one of Vegeta's free arms, he spins around and hurls him through two rocks before jumping straight through with this falling rubble to drive his knees into his chest. Breaking his armor, he throws him to the ground and leaves him in a terrible state. He lands next to him, rolling before standing by his side. This will be your greatest mistake, Vegeta claims, holding his chest in pain. Throwing up his hands, a large white key ball flies into the sky and enlarges. This doesn't affect Goku since his tail has already been removed, but Gohan looks up to see what's going on. It has no effect on Goku of course, but then Gohan starts transforming along with Raditz and Vegeta. Now with this power, Raditz can beat those pesky humans. In this form, his outlook on things has changed. We know that Raditz doesn't have as much training with his tail compared to Nappa since Goku was able to use it as a weak point, whereas Piccolo couldn't do the same with him in the canon timeline. Therefore, maybe that could also translate into the control the Saiyans have over their Uzari forms. Vegeta stares down at Goku and swats out to him head on. Just this movement of his arm sent him completely flying. Not only that, the swing didn't feel very nice at all. Vegeta continues showing off this new power that he has and just rubbing it into Goku that he has no chance. Grabbing his body, he squeezes as hard as he can, even breaking the bones in his body as he does so. Following that, he swings him down into rocks that surround him as if he's some toy that he's playing with. Goku continues screaming in agony, struggling to even take this much damage. Now he can't even let himself just endure this sort of pain. He's trying as hard as he can to free himself, but the difference in power is just far too great. Without Kaioken as well, it's extremely tough for him to do anything to Vegeta at this point. From this powerful assault, he's nearing death, but this means that his power is skyrocketing yet again. As Vegeta hurls him down, his power level lifts to 42,000. Goku can't even feel this increase in power solely from the level of pain that he feels in his body. That is almost like the only feeling that he gets from this. Leaping at the humans, they all disperse upon seeing Raditz's towering frame. Krillin can see that Goku is struggling against Vegeta, but this Saiyan doesn't seem to be giving him any space to help him. The humans just must jump around him as fast as they can, but even that is hard. This Raditz, even with a much larger body, has a power level of 15,000. That is well above anything that they could output. How do we find a way out of this? Yamcha shouts before he is caught in Raditz's left hand. Oh no, Raditz has caught him. Viciously squeezing as hard as he can, the damage caused to Yamcha is greater than even that to Goku. His bones and body shrink as the space between Raditz's hands decreases. It's almost like his squeezing is like a hydraulic press. This leaves him in a terrible state and his screams soon stop. All he can do is cough blood and one of his ribs stabs straight through his heart. His movements suddenly cease and his head dips as his eyes look on into nothing. He is dead. Raditz then looks to Tien and manages to grab him. It isn't long before he is gone as well. Krillin has both hands on his head, unable to think of what to do here. Suddenly, he can hear loud stomps coming from behind him and then sees Gohan heading his way. He can use this. Just as Raditz arrives at the rock he stood on, he leaps up into the air as hard as he can and reaches the clouds. During this time that he's airborne, Gohan switches his attention to Raditz, and since he is more than 5 times stronger than him, it isn't going to be an easy fight for him at all. As Krillin descends, he aims himself toward Goku and drops down the last senzu bean that they have. Goku's vision has gone blurry, but through the light he can see this small green object flying down to him. It takes a few seconds for him to realize what this could be, and once it's close enough he knows just what it is, a senzu bean. Grabbing it before it can hit the ground, he weakly eats it and feels his body return to its tip-top shape. His power level has increased to 100,000 from this one senzu bean. However, it's their last one. Goku tries to fight Vegeta again and finds that there is still little that he can do to win. What he does have now is speed, but without the strength to hurt Vegeta's large durable body, there isn't much that he can do. The last option is to take as much pain as possible yet again, to let Vegeta beat him down so much that even with his injured body it will be strong enough to defeat him. As he thinks of what to do as well, he sees Tien and Yamcha's bodies. They're dead, gone. Raditz, his own brother, killed some of his closest friends. During the training period before these Saiyans showed up, they all got close to one another. They were training with each other almost every single day to try and find a way to get stronger. That drew them all together more than ever. Now, to see them dead and gone at the hands of these evil Saiyans, it leaves him angry, but also saddened. This feeling. It's pain, but it's also power. His power level grows as he thinks more of their deaths, and he leans into this darkness. He knows that throwing himself into this black abyss is the only way to reach light, peace, victory. Leaping at Vegeta, he lets him grab him and the beatdown continues. Goku can do nothing but take it. If he tries to resist, there will be nothing that he could do anyway. He simply leans into all the pain and suffering and ends up crying from the dark thoughts that he lets fly through his mind. As Vegeta beats him down as well, both of these strategies only make him stronger. By the end of this, Goku's power level soon reaches past Vegeta's even in this large Uzaru form of his. By the end of this, Goku's power level reaches 240,000, and since his base is stronger, Vegeta's attacks start hurting much less. After thinking about all of those dark thoughts, his mind is as sharp and focused as ever. He isn't doing the best, but he's more than strong enough to fight. As he grew stronger as well, the injuries start to hurt less and less. After thinking about all those dark thoughts, his mind is as sharp and focused as ever. He needs to defeat these Saiyans. Leaping straight up to Vegeta, he lands the first attack he's done in a while and breaks his armor in the process. Then he lets everything loose, the pent-up anger, rage, grief. He pours it all into his next assault and Vegeta can do nothing to resist it. Goku grabs his tail and begins swinging the massive Uzaru around as if he's a pendulum tied to a rope. Vegeta is soon left on the floor, left to just stare up to the sky. Raditz has been defeated as well, and Krillin has managed to get Gohan to focus on the enemy from his human side. Now that the enemy has been defeated, there isn't much for him to do. Looking up, Goku starts to think about what he's going to do about that fake moon in the sky. He can see that his son, Gohan, is in his Uzaru form but is at least calm now. What he's worried about is how he's going to return to his human form. He simply uses a Kamehameha wave and the energy wave soundly destroys it. Leave this planet and never return. If you come back, the same will happen. Take Raditz and get out of here right now, Goku commands, leaping up to an adjacent rock before leaving. Vegeta has taken that order and knows he is too weak to do anything. He even struggles to get up onto his front. Vegeta then flies off, leaving Raditz where he is. He sees absolutely no use for him. Why would he care about taking him away with him? Goku sees this and only feels the hate inside him growing. A tear flows down his cheek and he still has his fists clenched. It's almost like he's still ready to battle. Goku, the fight is over, Krillin says, aware of the physical tension in his body. As Krillin lightly touches his back to try and calm him, it's like Goku's been shocked or something. He's still so on edge from everything that's happened. The thoughts that he let empower him have also left him in a darker, more sinister state. He can't even smile. However, he soon comes around and can crack a light smile knowing that the main threat is gone and that even if he returns, he'll be strong enough to protect the planet that he calls home. What follows is the mission to try and get their friends back. Gohan, Goku and Krillin are the only ones alive, and with those that are injured healing slowly from their injuries, there aren't any more senzu beans that Korin can offer them, and so they must play the waiting game. Krillin is pretty much fully okay along with Gohan, however Goku isn't faring too well and the additional person healing is Raditz. They've kept him on special sedatives, strong enough to keep him out of it as he recovers. They just don't know what he'll do. They aren't worried about themselves, but more for the innocent humans out there. Raditz is even weaker than Krillin by a large margin, so they could contain him easily. They're just more worried about how they could save other innocents from his wrath if he were to let loose. They soon get to Mr. Popo, who speaks of the Lake Kami ship that was used for him to come from Namek in. They then get Bulma on its refurbishment and Gohan and Krillin get ready to leave themselves. Now without Goku they aren't feeling confident, but it won't be long before he'll be on his way too. They head to Namek as usual, with Krillin and Goku conducting their usual searching on the vast planet for their own Dragon Balls. Krillin and Gohan soon creep up on Zarbon and Dodoria as they slaughter innocent Namekians. Gohan, being the pure-hearted Saiyan that he is, feels their pain. With that pain though comes power for him. Additionally, his rage is tied to the hidden reserves of strength that he unconsciously taps into, like in the canon timeline. These two factors drive up his power beyond his previously thought to be limits. Krillin can feel his ki flaring up and starts trembling from what he knows is about to happen. Gohan, please stay down, Krillin whispers loudly until Dodoria looks in their direction. He can see Gohan stood with his hair flowing from the ki that he can't keep contained within. He blasts straight down there and goes in to kick Dodoria in his chest, just like he did in canon. Gohan is much stronger here, so his kick breaks his armor and sends him flying back. Sliding along the ground, Krillin takes Dende before anything can happen to him and then shouts for Gohan to leave. He gives one last glare to Zarbon and Frieza before following Krillin's advice and leaving. What are you doing? Go and get him, Frieza shouts. Dodoria holds his chest in pain, but then lifts to follow them. They fly off as fast as they can, with Gohan staying at Krillin's side for safety reasons. Dodoria speeds ahead to try and catch them, but they dive down and suppress their ki whilst hiding behind rocks so they aren't found. Dodoria continues looking around, annoyed at the lack of people he can see. This is when Vegeta arrives with his 24,000 power level. Dodoria is defeated all the same, and this gives the humans the slight time window they need to escape. Following this, Vegeta is up against Zarbon and is still defeated seamlessly. He wanted to take the anger of his defeat to Kakarot out on these warriors, but losing to Zarbon makes him even angrier. It makes his blood boil to find yet another person superior to him. He must change that as quickly as possible. He can't stay this weak any longer. He won't allow it. During this time, Goku is on his way and has healed. His power level began at 240,000, but with senzu beans and time to train in the gravity chamber, his power is about to skyrocket. Someone else is within his ranks too, Raditz. There is no need to keep him on Earth. Without Vegeta to order him around, he was surprisingly okay with the way he was being treated. He stayed somewhat calm and didn't really lash out at anyone. This gives them each other as respective training partners, allowing them to spar and work with each other to further their training. He doesn't dig into that same darkness that he did before. He even gets nightmares from the feelings that he let empower him. He'd much rather rely on the physical pain from training to power himself further, since it doesn't last forever and doesn't affect him as much mentally. Dende tells Gohan and Krillin about Guru, and Krillin heads there with him first. During this time, Gohan finds one of Vegeta's Dragon Balls and takes it away with him, like in canon. Soon Krillin and Dende return, and Krillin's power level is now at 40,000. Krillin's power level in canon at this point was stated to be around 15,000, but he has a much higher base in this what if. Therefore, I think this greater potential boost is valid. We also don't really know how strong Krillin was at this point. The power levels that people use are basically estimations. There's no true definitive power level for Krillin after he got the potential unlocking. Upon arriving back, Vegeta lands ahead of Krillin and confronts him. He's taken one of his Dragon Balls and he wants it back. Vegeta's power level after his defeat to Zarbon is around 40,000 as well. Krillin can sense his ki and he's strong, but he feels like he won't just lose. He could stand a chance here. He stands ahead and isn't the usual terrified, scared Krillin that we've come to know. No, he has power to fall back on, to rely on. No, I won't just hand you the Dragon Ball. Your friend literally killed my closest friends. We're here to bring them back to life, Krillin barks back. You better watch your words, Earthling. You don't want to fight with me, Vegeta says, with the calmness and politeness gone from his tone. Krillin doesn't reply, but he doesn't back down. He's ready for whatever is going to come his way. If that's what you want, human, Vegeta shouts, powering up and charging straight at him. He flies over the land and Krillin stands firm, blocking his first kick. The kick rattles his whole body, but he knows that this is the sort of power that he can output himself. He can win this. Vegeta then continues with a fast wave of attacks, taking Krillin off guard and landing a good number of hits. However, he can see that he's using the same sort of punches and telegraphing as he does so. After watching Goku's fight with him too, he can see that he's fighting in a similar way. A right hand, Krillin thinks. As he expected, Vegeta comes at him with that exact punch. Knowing what's headed his way, Krillin can counter in the best way. Leaning out the way of his fist, he punches him straight in the face and then swings in a kick to buckle in Vegeta's knee. Finally, he swings in an elbow to his chin, but Vegeta is quick enough to block, but the attack still sends him sliding back a few meters. Now this shocks Vegeta, totally shocks him. He grew from a Zenkai, defeated Zarbon, who is one of the strongest fighters that Frieza relies on. Now he's fighting Krillin as if they're equals. Vegeta leaps up from having this thought and his mind becomes blank with rage. Charging forward, he thrusts in a massive kick and sends Krillin flying back. Vegeta continues with the same aggression and Krillin has to stay careful, but this makes Vegeta predictable. Vegeta continues to try and throw in these same attacks repeatedly and Krillin starts picking him apart and analysing him, finding weak points and striking him in areas he knows he can't guard. Vegeta lifts his hands to try and strike them down, but Krillin steps back then lifts his hands to his face, the solar flare. Vegeta is struck by the bright light and can't even see a thing. All there is this painful white flash. In this time, Krillin shouts and grows his Destructo Disc. He's tired of this. He's tired of this. After being treated like a weakling and beaten, left terrified on Earth, he wants to make things right. This guy ahead of him is evil. He's already destroyed an entire Namekian village and killed innocents. The glowing golden disc spins violently and Krillin wants to just get rid of him, but he hesitates for too long. Vegeta soon returns to his senses, then starts looking into the sky. The Ginyu Force, he whispers, rising. His tail falls loose from his waist and waggles around. He then wiggles his fingers and the Force land not too far from them. Shortly after this as well, Gohan has arrived at the crew. Once he arrives again, they're almost terrified of the power that he has. 125,000. He's almost a new fighter entirely. The aura exuding off him is intense and he can also sense the dark ki of the Ginyu Force. Vegeta was initially going to use the fear from these humans to try and get them to fight with him against that Ginyu Force, but upon sensing their ki, he can see that is not the case. This low-class Saiyan child has far surpassed him. They all fly over there, but none of them are scared. Vegeta has his tail intact and could pull out his fake moon at any moment. Captain Ginyu, the strongest of them, isn't even here right now. Vegeta isn't at all associated with the people behind him. Don't interrupt, Vegeta shouts, before leaping at the crew. Even if Gohan is stronger, he's taking this fight himself. Since he's so fast, Gordo can't even go for the use of his frozen time power in time. Kicking at Gordo's head, he destroys it, then places both hands to Jace's chest, blasting straight through it. Turning to Recoome, he elbows him in the chest, but he doesn't seem to falter as easily. Leaping straight back to him as he's slidden away, he gets grabbed and thrown back. A challenge. This makes Vegeta smile. The prince powers up violently, releasing every ounce of power that he has. Releasing his tail from his waist, it waggles violently and he charges straight back at them. Recoome and Berta aren't willing to die just like Jace and Gordo did, so they band together. Berta steps forward with his greater speed and hits Vegeta with a wave of punches and kicks. Subsequently, Recoome steps in and throws attacks while Vegeta is so flustered by the assault. Now individually, Vegeta would stand a much better chance, but when they fight together, they can deal large volumes of damage. They continue attacking him, and since they can attack him from various angles, they connect frequently. Krillin and Gohan don't even like Vegeta, but they struggle to stand by and watch him get pummeled like this. However, they think back to the stern, bold face that he had when he ordered for them to stay back. Gohan is strong enough to disobey him basically, but this is his fault anyway. This is what he wanted in the end. However, Gohan is pure of heart. He stands there and feels a slight feeling of mental distress, pain, power. He starts to take a step forward, but then out of nowhere, Rakum's head goes flying off. A blurry figure spins violently above the two remaining fighters, before landing and then punching straight through Berta's chest. His face is covered by the long thick head of black hair that reaches down his torso and even to his hamstrings. Raditz. Ripping his fist from his body, Berta flops down and Raditz stands there with a smile on his face, wiping his hand. "Surprised to see me, Vegeta?" Raditz asks, as Goku then lands beside him. Goku doesn't even have a smile on his face and actually looks quite angry from what he's done here. "You shouldn't have done that, Raditz. They didn't deserve to die," Goku says, in a darker voice that Krillin and Gohan aren't used to. "Doesn't matter now, does it? Why do you even want to save those people?" "I'll never understand you, Kakarot," Raditz says back. Instead of staying back and staying weak, Raditz headed with Goku on the ship to Namek. In that ship, Goku worked him hard. Using their senzu beans, they were able to reach new heights. During this time, Goku tapped back into that darkness. He didn't think that he would. However, it feels different now. When he feels pain, it doesn't just feel like distressing, uncomfortable agony. Somehow, the power that he knows he's getting from it almost makes it okay in a way. Vegeta is just stood there astonished. Goku's power level has lifted even higher to 400,000. Along with that, Raditz's has grown to 150,000. Raditz's power level is so high here because he had Goku with him to train with and to intensify his training. Seconds later, Ginyu arrives in front of the group of Saiyans, then scans the power levels exuding from them. 150,000, 125,000. Goku's power level is suppressed, but the power from Raditz and Gohan alone is terrifying. His is only at 105,000. What is he going to do? There's only one thing he knows to do. He shoots his body switching blast at one of them, Raditz. However, he knows his powers. He's heard rumours from members in the crew and steps beside the golden blast, letting it soar into the skies of Namek. A moment after, he leaps at the purple fighter and swings in a bone-crushing kick onto his chest. He continues with slow but extremely powerful punches intended to just break the captain down. With a final elbow to his jaw, Ginyu passes out and topples down. Finally, Raditz does want to take him out, but Goku grabs his wrist. No, Goku then orders, throwing his hand to the side. Gohan and Krillin then rush over, with Gohan going in to hug his father. Goku hugs him back and feels so happy to feel this warmth again, this happiness. Their peace and reunion can't last for long as Frieza lands before them. The strongest person they've ever seen, a true warrior above anything they've ever perceived before. Vegeta knows how strong this person is and isn't scared to resort to the Uzaru form. Raditz, Vegeta and Gohan's tails are still intact, but now with them so strong that might not even need to be an option anymore. Vegeta wants to be at the head of this group against Frieza, but these stronger fighters all eventually step ahead of him. Goku and Raditz block his view of Frieza, with Gohan also standing ahead of him. Krillin is the only one left at his level, stood behind this wall of powerful Saiyan warriors. "Frieza, I wasn't expecting to see you here," Raditz shouts out with a newfound confidence. He doesn't talk to him like a soldier would to his emperor, no, he talks as if they're just as strong as each other, of the same class. This makes Frieza furious, but he keeps that anger contained. "I wasn't expecting to see you here either, Raditz. I'm impressed, you were able to take down my soldiers quite swiftly. However, you've all interrupted my mission to acquire the Dragon Balls, and as a result directly gone against my empire," Frieza states. "Am I bothered, Frieza? I will destroy your puny empire, I'm not your soldier anymore. I will show you the power of the Saiyans you failed to destroy. The fact we were off well that day will be your greatest regret," Raditz roars. Shouting vehemently, he powers up and fires himself off toward Frieza. Punching him in the face, he doesn't move. Then Frieza shoots a death beam straight through his chest, missing his heart by literal inches. Blood spurts out his mouth and he falls down seconds from death. Gohan looks terrified from seeing this. It's only Goku that can see this and remains somewhat contained. The pain and warmth from anger in his body is something that he feels far too often. He steps up next, charging at Frieza while Dende rushes to the Saiyan's aid. Goku punches Frieza in the face just like Raditz did and actually throws it back. But Frieza spins over the next punch heading his way and kicks Goku in the neck, sending him sliding back. He then jumps at him and flips elegantly, throwing down a kick that he lands on one of his collarbones. The ground cracks upon feeling this massive force run through the ground, and he then lands again to thrust forward both hands into his solar plexus. This combination of shots are raw and explosive, each packing serious amounts of power. Even with his tiny unimpressive frame, Frieza is an absolute monster. Goku doesn't stay back for even half a second, he's already rushing straight back to Frieza. Frieza takes pleasure in beating him as he repeatedly comes back like a headless chicken. After several combinations, it doesn't seem like he's trying to fight back at all. Frieza is stronger of course, but he's not stronger by a very large margin. Goku could fight back and deal some damage, at least land some hits, but he's choosing not to do so. He just lets several attacks fly back at him, hitting him in various places. They continue to fire off at him and he just stands there like a tank. Frieza uppercuts Goku and sends blood flying out his nose and mouth. Throwing a lower gut punch, the Saiyan coughs out blood and falls to one knee. His head falls and it remains aimed low for a few seconds. However, he then lifts it and smiles maniacally with blood covering his teeth. This pain, this power. Why is he smiling? Frieza is almost terrified from this beast-like demonic face staring into his soul. Just who is this Saiyan? Is he sane? Goku fires up onto his feet with a new power level of 550,000 before he is even healed to receive a Zenkai. Dende looks resistant to heal him. From the darkness he can feel coming from him. However, Gohan and Krillin insist that it's okay. Goku even looks back and even smiles at him, leaving Dende with some conflicting evidence. He just looked like an evil, insane person, but now he turns and gives him a benevolent smile. Just what is going on here? After Dende begrudgingly heals him, his power level is now at 850,000. His body has just been flooded with new power and he isn't afraid to use it. He thrusts forward his foot to kick Frieza in the chest and shatters his armor. He's sent flying and the others can't believe it. Goku just sent the Frieza flying. His domination against him only reaffirmed his superiority, but now a Saiyan has surpassed him. The Emperor slowly makes his way back, dusting off his physique. He doesn't just continue and try and fight aggressively, because that hit actually hurt him quite a lot. He felt the pain throughout his entire body, but doesn't show that on his face. Before the fight continues, he enters his gargantuan second form. In this much larger physique, he towers over Kakarot and tries to be intimidating, but he doesn't let that get to him. All of the others just have to remain back, terrified of this new form of his. Goku doesn't let fear take him over though, and throws himself right back into the fight. As his fist advances toward Frieza, he strikes it away like it's nothing, before punching Goku in his cheek. Grabbing him by the neck, he pulls him in to kick him in the chest and then shoots his tail out to suffocate him. Goku struggles to resist, and once he is lifted off the ground, he can't really do much. No, Gohan shouts, seeing that his father could die at any moment. Stay back, Gohan, don't get yourself killed, Krillin urges, placing his hand on his chest. Gohan can feel his hand trembling as it's on his chest as well. Even he is terrified too. Raditz's power level has grown to 600,000 after his near-death injury from Frieza, but that won't make him anywhere near strong enough to do much. However, he can't just stand back and watch. That makes him no better than someone like Vegeta or Frieza. Totally apathetic and self-absorbed. He rushes in and grabs onto the tail, trying his best to wrestle with it. Even if Frieza is powerful and more powerful than him, Raditz's whole body is stronger than just Frieza's tail. Therefore, he just about manages to free his brother from Frieza's grasp. His near unconscious brother falls to the ground, and it takes a few seconds before he can return to his senses. Your fight is with me, Frieza, Raditz shouts, pointing at himself. His finger is literally trembling as he does this. As much as he tries to hide it, he is terrified and there's nothing he can do to change that. However, all he can do is fight through and try his best to take down the man that has oppressed him for decades. Even though he tries to take over, there's little he can do. There isn't a thing that any of them can do to match Frieza. His raw strength, speed, talent, it just can't be matched. Raditz falls back out of breath and with blood flowing down his face, then Dende heals him. Goku's power level is raised up yet again to 1 million. The pain that Frieza inflicted on him was felt physically and mentally. This continues to make him stronger. Frieza then transforms again. He's going to end this quickly. He shows off his monstrous third form, terrifying the likes of Krillin and Gohan. Frieza speeds forward and grabs Goku by the neck to slam him down. Everyone stood there around him must retreat as fast as they can, then Frieza tries to shoot out a death beam through Dende. However, Raditz sees this and knows what he's trying to do. He leaps in the way and lets the blast fly straight through him instead. Again, he has been gravely injured, but their healer surviving will stand them in good stead. Seeing Goku struggling to breathe, coughing out blood, Gohan can't stand back any longer. Exploding with rage, this mental pain also powers himself, constantly making him stronger. Flying forward as fast as he can, he punches Frieza in the face and somehow sends him flying. He then chases right after him, punching him in the face before kicking him upwards. Flying past Frieza as he ascends, he then unleashes a wave of ki blasts on him. Those around have to retreat even further to get out of this splash zone and can't believe the level of power that this boy has unleashed from out of nowhere. Vegeta is lost for words. As every minute passes, the gap between him and everyone else only continues to enlarge. It's like he's been left in a shadow with this bold human as one of his equals. The smoke blocks Frieza from view, but he goes flying out from out of it and takes Gohan down as his power starts to fade off with his rage. It only lasted a short moment, and the gap between Frieza's power and Gohan's only starts to enlarge. There's very little that he can do, and Frieza cements his superiority once again. Gohan ends up slamming into Krillin, toppling them both over, and Frieza then enters his final form. It looks over for them. Frieza shoots a death beam through Dende and then lifts up Krillin and Gohan. He feels like he's been humiliated by these Saiyans. Goku managed to challenge him in his second form, and that kid also did the same in his third form. All that he has on his mind is ruthless murder, revenge. Revenge for his humiliation. Gohan and Krillin are lifted to the sky and Goku's heart drops. Frieza, wait, don't do it, he pleads, showing pure emotion that he hasn't done in so long. All he can do is pray that Frieza has mercy. His heartbeats have become erratic, chaotic. The two fighters turn to explosions, not even their clothes are left to descend. Everything has been turned to pure ash. Even Vegeta has his hands on his head along with Raditz. For the first time, the two Saiyans are actually on the same page. Frieza's evil and terribly wrong for what he's just done. Goku continues to look up there with his blank face and skin a pale, sickly white. He then thinks back to when Grandpa Gohan died, when he let Krillin die in the King Piccolo saga. It was all out of his power, they didn't have to go through that. Goku's power starts bubbling up, not just from his pain but from something else as well. Raising to his feet, the ground starts to rumble from the power oozing from him. He can't keep it contained. Frieza lowers his hand and just watches, unmoving. From out of nowhere, Goku roars and lets the rage consume him. The legendary Super Saiyan is born. His aura flares around him chaotically and exudes pure power. His power level is raised to 75 million and only continues to climb. Blasting off towards Frieza, he punches him in the chest and breaks several of his ribs. He's still heavily suppressed, but Goku doesn't want to give him a single half second to let himself recuperate. Grabbing his loose tail, he swings him around and slams him down. Goku continues beating him down, not giving him an inch of breathing space. Frieza can't even track him as he resembles this golden blur of light and power. Even when he manages to lift his power level up to 60 million, it's not enough. Frieza does manage to catch Goku with a punch to his face, but he tanks it and then lets off a sinister smile. As the next punch comes his way, he just slaps it away. Then, thrusting his own fist forward with as much force as he can muster, it flies straight through Frieza's whole chest. Blood spurts out from the wound, and he rips it out savagely to let Frieza flop to the ground. His vision then starts to blur. It's over. Launching a one-hand energy wave, Goku reduces Frieza to just a scorched corpse in pieces. There is a brief sense of triumph with him, but then this feeling is overshadowed by loss, grief at the death of his friends, but also disgust with the brutality that he's decided to utilize. He's no different from him, killing brutally and mercilessly. Tears flow down his face and he falls to his hands and knees. The pain is just too much. Kakarot, you did it. You're the Super Saiyan of legend. You beat Frieza, Raditz says, with an elated voice. He just can't believe what he's just seen. They're free. They're all free. Goku has avenged the Saiyans and taken down the Emperor that oppressed them for so many decades. His tears stop as he realizes that they've won. He can now wish for those that have been killed to be revived. Their first wish is to bring back Kami so that the Earth Dragon Balls come back. They then realize that Porunga can't revive multiple people with a single wish. However, this is still well within Shenron's abilities, so they gather the Earth Dragon Balls at the same time and get that wish done on Earth. The specific wish utilized is to revive everyone killed by Frieza and his army. This brings back people like Krillin and Gohan, but also other people like Tien and Yamcha. Goku can rejoice upon seeing his son and closest friend alive again. Raditz is happy to see his brother so happy and to see that peace is upon them and the whole galaxy. It's a nice warm feeling that he hasn't had in a long time. Ever since his mother and father were killed, Nappa and Vegeta were his only family and they treated him like trash. Like he wasn't even a person. Respect comes from power for Saiyans. If you're not powerful, you're not respected, and Raditz was terribly weak for a Saiyan. Therefore, he wasn't respected at all. However, it's happy to know that he can receive respect from those around him, not from his power. However, he is strong as well, so for people like Vegeta that only respect powerful people, he can gain their respect as well. Goku, Gohan and Krillin then start thinking about how they're going to return to Earth. Then Raditz turns back to Vegeta, who's kind of just watching the whole thing idly. So many thoughts are racing through his mind and they're not really coherent either. It's mainly just abstract concepts and intense emotions. Humiliation, anger, happiness at the death of Frieza. He's been following them, but his mind has been in a totally different realm. Vegeta, Raditz shouts, making him startled and bringing his eyes up to him. Where are you going now? The army's gone, we can do what we want now, Raditz says. Even if Raditz hates Vegeta for how he thinks, the man he is, he's one of the closest people to him right now. He doesn't want to just isolate him from everyone else. Vegeta doesn't reply, his eyes just drift off to the distance again as his clouded mind struggles to focus on what's going on around him. "Come on, Uncle Raditz, what are you waiting for?" Gohan asks him. "Are you not coming along?" "I mean, I'm going back to Earth with them. There's nowhere else for us to go. Why don't you just come along?" Raditz asks. Vegeta's mind is still racing, but he steps with Raditz as he does. The group all head back to Earth with Vegeta not saying a single word to any of them. As they fly over to Earth, they end up stuck on Yardrat for a year where they learn some of their techniques. This is when Vegeta starts to slowly but surely warm up to the others. They all manage to learn instant transmission, with Krillin showcasing his adeptness for learning techniques. He ventures further than the rest of them and learns gigantification and cloning, becoming somewhat proficient with spirit control. As they arrive later that year, they're surprised at what they see. This purple-haired Saiyan has just slain Frieza that somehow survived and returned to Earth with his father. The fighters all step out in Yardrat gear and look happy and jolly. Vegeta is stood by Raditz and seems to have calmed down quite a bit. There were times where he had temper tantrums, annoyed at himself and the others for surpassing him. However, Raditz was always there to bring him back, to help him calm down. Vegeta never understood it and doesn't really to this day. He'd never do that for anyone else, he just isn't bothered at all. He's never really cared about someone like that enough to just look past himself and be so selfless. Raditz knows that, but he still sees Vegeta as a close friend. He can't just let his mind break down from all of his self-deprecating thoughts. He doesn't want to see Vegeta fall apart from that. Anyway, Goku goes on to talk to Trunks about what's happening and seems happier than before. He's still not back to his fully jolly self, but he has used that meditation to look back on the pain that he's put himself through. He used those day-long, week-long meditation sessions to think back to this darkness that was growing inside him, to try and detach it from his mentality as much as possible. He's eventually learned to see this darkness as merely a vehicle for power, not anything that should properly affect him. Trunks goes on to explain to him what will happen with Goku contracting the heart virus and dying. Goku is up for what is to come, the androids, and so is everyone else. With Yamcha and Tien seeing how strong Krillin has become, they don't want to get left behind themselves. 3 years of tough training ensues, and since Vegeta spent so much time with Raditz, he ends up training with him more and doesn't just go rogue and off-world for this time. Raditz also keeps him calmer and checks him whenever he acts arrogantly or lets his inferiority complex take total control. The years pass and the androids are here. Goku leaps into the sky of Sasebo and finds them, guiding his descent to then land in front of Android 19 and 20. 19 and 20 look a little startled to see that Goku found them so quickly. However, Goku doesn't even give them much time for thought. He charges at them and grabs 19's outstretched arm in Super Saiyan. Ripping it from his body, he smashes his face with it and the android just falls and looks dead. Goku, growing from all the terrible things that have happened to him and from the physical pain of training, means that he grows exponentially stronger from training. Just after these 3 years, he's like a new man. Dr. Gero looks startled and flies off, then Goku tries to blast him away before he can escape. However, Trunks grabs his hand and stops him from doing so. He then explains to him and everyone else that these androids aren't the ones that he saw in his own timeline. He could be going to activate more, and therefore they should follow him to know where those androids are so that they can be swiftly dealt with. They end up facing the metal barricade of Dr. Gero's lab and things aren't going exactly as expected. Trunks hoped that they could nip it in the bud, get rid of the androids before they'd be activated, but they can't really find their way into his lab. They end up facing the metal barricade to a lab and Goku's breath starts getting heavier and heavier. The heart disease is working up. The androids are revealed, the androids that Trunks knows all too well, Android 17 and Android 18. Goku is taken away due to his weakness, leaving the others to try and deal with him. Vegeta stands forward and wants to take on the fight himself. 18 stands ahead of 16 and 17, with Vegeta showing off his Super Saiyan form. Using instant transmission, he appears in front of 18 and punches her in the face. As she tries to retaliate and attack herself, he disappears then appears behind her, double drop kicking her straight in the back. This kick thrusts her forward and leaves her to stumble quite badly. What, are you confused about how this fight is turning out? It's impossible for you to challenge the power of the Saiyans, Vegeta claims. 18 just grunts with anger, throwing back her elbow, but Vegeta takes it and slides back slowly. As the fight continues, they seem like equals. Vegeta can land good hits, 18 can do the same. To 17 that watches this, he finds it quite humiliating, to be honest. Soon though, 18 starts to gain the advantage. Her infinite energy reserves means that she can continue fighting at her complete best, while Vegeta just can't. As every minute passes, he's growing weaker and more tired. Vegeta just stands there using his arms to try and block most of the attacks, but he isn't doing that well. Android 18 can break through his defenses rather easily now that he's so exhausted, and kicks one of his arms so hard that he falls onto a knee. 18 stands over him, not even with faster than normal breath. She hasn't even broken a sweat. Vegeta shouts with anger at his clear defeat and swings up a punch at her, but all she has to do is step back to watch it fly past her face. It doesn't connect. With Vegeta so off balance as well, all she has to do is kick forward to throw him onto his back. Yet again, Vegeta, forcing me to bail you out, Raditz says, stepping forward. Why are you acting like this has happened before? And you're not bailing me out, I could carry on fighting if I wanted to, I've only gotten started, Vegeta says, before bursting out coughing and falling onto his back again. He definitely could not carry on if he wanted to. That is true, it just sounded cool to say, to be honest, Raditz replies. Anyway, both of you are going down now, Raditz says, pointing at them. He pulls his fist back to his side, then starts shouting, drawing from the power within. His hair flows, then lifts slightly in some areas. The black hair then switches to a pure bright blonde and his Super Saiyan form manifests. 18 isn't scared of these Saiyans, he's already taken down one of them and she's aware of Raditz. Raditz catches her initial punch though. It isn't easy, but he doesn't fall back from it either. I'm not going to just be a pushover android. Don't think the fight with me will be like the one you've just had, he comments. Throwing her fist to the side, he thrusts forward his much larger fist and sends her stumbling back with a strong punch. Come on then, android, show me what you've got. Android 18 doesn't let this get to her and carries on anyway. Flying straight toward him, she throws in a kick, but Raditz steps beside it. Even with his larger frame, he can dodge quite easily and does so with a smile on his face. As she continues and tries to land another strike, he dips under it and then throws a punch over her guard before launching a ki blast into her torso at point blank range. This sends her sliding back several meters and the domination from Raditz only continues. His raw strength is far above hers. I mean, he is 6 feet something and still a muscle monster. He might not be like somebody like Nappa, but he is much more muscular than either Goku or Vegeta. 17 steps over his sister as if she's trash and doesn't even look at her. 17 is stronger than 18 and puts up a better fight, but there's nothing he can do. He still loses, but then 16 urges for them to retreat. Their mission is to kill Goku and they shouldn't sustain grave damage before their mission is done. Go on then, leave, Raditz shouts, before turning back to his crew. Vegeta and Raditz receive senzu beans, meaning their injuries vanish, and then they have to think about what they're going to do next. To be honest, Trunks urges for them to just go out and search for them. They have the power advantage now, they shouldn't waste it before innocent people die. From what they've seen, the androids are very erratic and will do anything on a whim. Since they're so strong, they have to make sure they're taken down quickly. If they don't get what they want, if they challenge their mission to destroy Goku, they can take out their anger on innocent humans that surround them. Trunks has seen the worst of them, he knows what could happen at any second. As a result, while Goku is healing from the heart virus, Raditz and Vegeta begin their search for these androids. During this time, Goku is recovering from the heart virus. He isn't faring too well, but it's good to know that he won't just die from the virus. Additionally, this feeling of sickness isn't just making him bedbound, but it's powering him. The pain of illness is fueling him. The feeling of annoyance that he can't join in and help the fight against the androids, the fear that anybody could die if they're left to run wild, it also makes him stronger. At this time though, Cell appears. In their search, Vegeta just manages to find him. What are you supposed to be? He asks, a little grossed out by his appearance. Why, I'm Cell, Vegeta, Cell says, raising his arms. The fact that this being knows his name is confusing, but Vegeta isn't scared. He's a Super Saiyan, what is there to fear? After his tough fight with Android 18, he's stronger and certain he could beat her if they were to fight again. Each tough battle only advances him past his opponents, past his rivals. Explains his nature, and Vegeta is impressed that somebody like him could even exist. However, yet again, there's no fear, he is still stronger and he's sure of that. Entering his Super Saiyan form, he charges straight to Cell and wipes away his confident smile. Smashing his knee into his chin, he throws him more than 10 meters into the air before launching his Big Bang attack on him as he is left to descend. He lands it perfectly and destroys a lot of the surrounding area from the massive explosion zone. Cell is left very badly injured from the explosion, but he stands and uses the solar flare to escape. He's covered in his own blood and to be honest isn't doing very well. However, he can't die before he finds the androids and achieves his completion. Again, Vegeta asks, furious at being caught by that solar flare twice now. Raditz is continuing his search, flying across the skies in Super Saiyan and trying to cover every inch of the planet in the process. This is what Vegeta and Raditz continue to do for numerous days. Vegeta tries looking for Cell because he has a key signature that he can actually search for. Unlike the androids that draw their energy from the infinite batteries inside them, Cell is an actual living being. Even though he can search for him, Cell is very good at hiding because he knows that he's coming for him. It's arduous, and Raditz never thought he'd be doing something so selfless and heroic like this. He'd never be bothered to go around searching for some random people to try and help others like this a few years back. As he's lost in his thoughts though, he runs up on Cell. It's been a while after his fight with Vegeta and he's absorbed many humans. Not only that, but below them is an island with the androids. They watch them above from behind the trees and look terrified. They can't hide any longer and they still don't know where Goku is at all. Things aren't looking great for them. Get out of my way, Raditz. It's best for you that you don't try and take a fight with me, Cell explains. Seconds later, Vegeta arrives by Raditz's side once he feels their strong key meeting. It's Cell again, Vegeta realizes, but this isn't why he's shocked. What he's shocked about is how much stronger he's become in such a short time. He's been absorbing power, making himself a stronger warrior to protect himself against the likes of them. This time he's absorbed many more humans than in the canon timeline. He isn't against someone like Piccolo that is terribly powerful and brutal. Vegeta could have killed him if he tried to continue fighting him. The three land on the island below them and Raditz decides to take the fight on alone. Entering Super Saiyan, he speeds off towards Cell and the two warriors clash. At first they fight like equals and this shocks Vegeta. They almost take turns in landing hits and after a short time it looks like the battle could end in a stalemate. Raditz punches Cell right in the face but then gets a kick to the jaw himself. Cell follows with a punch straight to his solar plexus and this hurts him quite badly. Stumbling back, he still manages to grab the green fighter by the head and thrusts his knee into his nose. As this happens, they see the androids trying to escape. That's when Cell completely takes his mind off the fight and looks away from Raditz. This confuses him. Why is he so interested in these androids? Too scared to fight us again, Vegeta asks, before flying toward them and blocking them off. We've been looking for way too long for you all. What is the luck that we found you all at once, Vegeta says. They're in quite the predicament. Android 16 looks around them trying to find the best mode of escape, but once he takes in the powers of Vegeta and Raditz along with a massive number of other parameters, their chances of escape are very small. This is when Cell leaps up at 17 and captures him before any Saiyan can react. A bright light is released and Vegeta's face becomes that of confusion. What is even happening? Raditz and Vegeta are left to kind of just look at Cell as he glows, struggling to wrap their heads around this. Once they feel the level of ki coming from him skyrocket, their feelings of confusion swiftly change to that of concern. Vegeta throws in his signature Big Bang attack, but Cell has protected himself with one of his energy shields. Once the smoke around him fades, he's revealed with little to no injury. Semi-perfect Cell is here. Vegeta flies in anyway, kicking him in his chest. This kick does absolutely nothing though. Cell doesn't even move. Vegeta then continues with a barrage of punches and kicks, but each one isn't strong enough. He can't do a thing to defeat him. Raditz looks quite surprised at this, but he knows that he's stronger. He has to take this fight himself. Using instant transmission, he appears right behind Cell and tries to throw down a double axe handle, but Cell elbows him in the chest. The attack looked terribly low effort from Cell, but this sends Raditz down into the island like a bullet. He's knocked out from that single punch and Vegeta is next. He grabs the prince by his head, squeezing and straining his bones. Vegeta struggles and grunts in agony once he feels the pain across his head. Blood starts flowing down his face and scalp, leaving a horrifying image for the androids to witness firsthand. Cell then places his other hand onto his chest and looks to blast him to smithereens. He looks down and all the Saiyan Prince can do is give him eyes of mercy. No matter how much he tries to resist, he can't remove this massive hand from his head. A split second later, Goku kicks Cell right in the chest and frees Vegeta. Already in Super Saiyan, he glares down at him before throwing a senzu beam to Vegeta. Get out of here, leave now, Goku says, but the androids don't reply. They don't immediately think that he's talking about them, but then he turns to look in their direction. This guy's going to try and absorb you all, just leave now, Goku shouts. Now this is the guy they're supposed to kill right here. However, after a very brief analysis, 16 knows that they can't kill either Cell or Goku. It would be best for them to retreat and recalculate. The two androids fly off, but Cell tries to fly after them. Before he can though, Goku drops both knees onto his back and throws him down and into the waters adjacent to the small island the androids were hiding on. Descending, he awaits Cell's ascent from such waters with his arms crossed. After being sick for several days, as imperfect Cell was going across the world and absorbing humans, he felt intense pain as he was awake. The feeling of fever, weakness, illness, it was all in good stead as it made him a completely new fighter. As the pain left him, it left a new sense of energy and vitality within him. Cell rushes out in anger at Goku, foiling his plans of perfection. He won't take this lightly. Goku manages to evade many of his initial telegraphed attacks but gets hit with a kick to his chest. Even if Cell is predictable at times, that doesn't mean he isn't strong. The two start fighting and nobody can gain the advantage on the other. Goku outmatches Cell in terms of raw speed, but then Cell outmatches him due to his greater size from strength. Along with that, Cell is physically larger, and what comes with that is durability. Even though Goku is landing more hits in the same amount of time, Cell is much larger, which means that he can take those attacks very easily. Both fighters are tired and continuing to tire. No one can claim the advantage. Suddenly, Goku starts shouting and veins show up on his biceps and head. Raditz and Vegeta, who have been watching from the side, don't really understand what he's doing here. He's already in Super Saiyan and seems to be at his full power. What will charging Ki do here now? He's getting desperate. That'll give him no power, Vegeta says, with his arms crossed. No, Raditz replies. What do you mean? He hasn't gotten even a bit stronger. There might be a step ahead, something beyond Super Saiyan. Maybe he's searching for that, Raditz states. Vegeta is dubious of this claim. However, all he can do is watch and see. Suddenly, Goku's muscles puff up, and it does seem like he's doing something here. Ascending further, he achieves the Super Saiyan Grade 2 form. Bulkier but more powerful, he charges at Cell and knees him in the face. Now this packs a punch. Goku is no longer the weaker of the two, but has a clear strength advantage. Not only that, he has kept the speed advantage that he had previously. Punching Cell in the gut, he spins around quickly to kick him in the face. Before Cell can fly back, he grabs him by the tail and pulls him back in to land a side kick to his solar plexus. As Cell falls back, he begins charging his Kamehameha wave. Cell comes to a stop, and as soon as he charges back at him, the energy wave is already flying toward him. Cell catches it and tries to push against it, but it's too late. It consumes him and gets sent off into space. As it dies down, he is revealed with dried blood and scorched flesh. He's heavily bruised up and his skin is cut in numerous places, but he's still in flight and still ready to continue. He's holding on by a thread though. He coughs out blood, then ends up regurgitating Android 17 like he did to 80. He then returns to his imperfect form and the android falls into the waters below them. The fight is over. Goku then blasts him away before he can do anything. He puts a lot of power into the one-hand energy wave, and the gap between Cell's power and his own is so large that even down to the cellular level he is broken apart completely. Cell has been defeated before he was able to achieve his perfection. Now 17 and 18 are free, but all these androids can see that they can't beat Goku right now. Therefore, they aren't really seen for a short while. They take it as a good sign that they won't lash out or attack anyone. Shortly after, Raditz ends up meeting 18 again, and they soon get into a relationship. Trunks is born during this time, along with Goten and Raditz Jr. Raditz Jr. looks just like his father, but has the bright blue eyes of his mother, Android 18. During these years, the Saiyans can train together and stay connected to each other as a family, basically. Goku, Vegeta, and Raditz continue training hard and motivate their kids to go down that same path as well. Vegeta has calmed down a lot during this time, but the thoughts of his family making him weaker still linger. It feels like he's stopping himself from reaching his true potential. However, it's a great feeling to have a family, and he throws these dark thoughts into the back of his mind for now. Raditz is loving life, living in a lot more relaxed fashion, training, eating and chopping it up with his closest friends. It's weird to have gone from life as a weak soldier, constantly doing things he didn't want to having utmost freedom with immense power. Since so many years passed, the talks of threats to the universe are almost times of the past. It's been calm for so long, surely nothing can happen again. The fighters are preparing for the upcoming World Tournament. Vegeta humbles himself to train Trunks, and he does this because he doesn't want his son to be humiliated in the tournament. Raditz does the same with his own son, but Goku isn't too bothered about training up his son like that. He doesn't even think that far ahead to think about him being embarrassed in his fights. Goku just trains with him as he has done usually. The junior division of the tournament is almost conquered by Goten, Trunks and Raditz Jr. Before the final, Raditz Jr. meets Trunks in the semi-finals. Raditz swings back a leg and makes a fighting stance like his father. Trunks does the same, mimicking the stance of Vegeta. The next generation clashes. Both fighters remain still and careful, wary of the other. They haven't been together training for a while, and they kind of broke off to train with their respective fathers. This is in order to keep their progress concealed. Trunks was the stronger of the two before they stopped training together, so we can't be so certain anymore. However, Trunks is arrogant and feels like he still claims the title as strongest. He speeds forward and startles Raditz Jr. with his sudden change in speed. He lands a punch, but Raditz swings in an uppercut to his chin and then throws in a hook over Trunks' extended arm. Maybe the gap between them no longer exists. They continue with this type of fight, but Raditz Jr. does gain the upper hand. He is more powerful than Trunks and fights in a more calculated way as well. Trunks ends up getting hit in the fight and then rushes forward to try and get a hit back to try and get even in his mind. This means that he's easier to fight, since when he does that he becomes terribly predictable. Trunks gets angry and then powers up into Super Saiyan, punching Raditz straight in the chest. His punch is so powerful that he nearly throws him off the ring entirely. However, this is a mistake. If Super Saiyan makes them 50 times stronger, the gap between Trunks and Raditz Jr. will only enlarge if Raditz Jr. starts using Super Saiyan as well. The spectators are truly mesmerized, and Raditz follows suit with his own Super Saiyan form. He charges straight back at Trunks and elbows him in the chin before landing 2 gut punches. Trunks blocks the next, but he can't block everything. Raditz throws 2 powerful attacks but also smart attacks, aiming at areas that he can't block properly. Trunks ends up on the edge of the ring, and Raditz then kicks at his upper chest, straight between his 2 raised arms. He lands a clean side kick and throws him off the ring to take the win for himself. In the end, Raditz meets Goten in the final, but the gap between them is even larger. Goten can't stand much of a challenge to Raditz Jr. Raditz can't hide his pride at the victories of his son, and Vegeta looks furious to see his son defeated. Goku is happy for his nephew and isn't too bothered about his son losing. He is the youngest of the 3, and he put up a good fight anyway. Gohan has still been strong enough to become the Great Saiyan Man, and what has happened is that during general life struggles he can grow physically stronger. If there's a tough project that he has to get through in school, or there are certain dynamics at school, it doesn't only mentally challenge him but make him stronger. It's not as great compared to physical training, but it means that he hasn't gotten weaker but has instead gotten slightly stronger. In these 7 years as well, he has gained access to Super Saiyan and shows this off against Kibito. However, he is assailed by Yamu and Spopovich. The Saiyans follow them as usual, and the initial fights against Babidi's fighters are rather similar. What is next though is Babidi looks to Vegeta to make him one of his next Majin fighters. As soon as the mind control begins, Vegeta almost succumbs to it. Those thoughts, the belief that he has grown weak, makes this his chance to claim the title of strongest once again. He shouts and enters Super Saiyan, becoming Majin Vegeta. The Kais are reluctant to just let Goku and Vegeta go off fighting, but Goku insists that he must. Whispering to Gohan, he says that it won't take him long. The 2 fighters end up in a rocky wasteland, and both fighters ascend into Super Saiyan 2. This time it won't be like before Kakarot. The gap between us is too large, Vegeta claims. After receiving this power, he feels on top of the world. Nobody can stop him. That is true, Vegeta, Goku says, before moving so fast that Vegeta can't even react. Punching him in the gut, he knocks the wind right out of him. He's left in utter disbelief as he falls to his knees, struggling to breathe. Goku then kicks him in the side of the head, launching him through a whole gizzard rock. He then appears in front of him using instant transmission with his arms crossed. Vegeta just smashes the side of his fist onto the floor, cracking it and spitting out blood. He tries to concentrate his growing rage and leaps up to try and punch him, but he misses. Goku steps back, then kicks him in the chest, knocking him down to the ground. No matter how many times he tries to get up and fight back, it's useless. There's nothing he can do to win. Goku has completely outclassed him. Stop this needless fighting, Vegeta. Do you not care about your family, the new life you've acquired? This constant fighting is something of the past. Just forget about it, Goku insists. Vegeta just roars in reaction and leaps right at him to try and attack him. Goku then lands an uppercut that's strong enough to make it lights out for him. He goes stumbling down to the ground and leaves him knocked out. The fight has ended rather seamlessly. Since Goku has 2 factors that accelerate his training, Zenkai's and him growing stronger from physical and mental pain, the gap between him and his friends has only increased. Now the pain from training doesn't scare him. No, he actively invites it because he knows what he gets in return. After so many years of training in that way and doing such so often, it's become quite natural for him to use it in his training regimes. Soon after this, Goku returns and sees that Majin Buu is going to be activated. Launching a simple one-hand energy wave at this brown ball, he feels like the job is done. However, it isn't. Buu forms in a pink cloud of mass in the sky, eventually settling down to form the signature Majin Buu form. Now this could be an intriguing fight. Stay back, Kakarot, I want to see how strong he is, Raditz says, stepping forward as he stretches his arms. Getting into position, he fires off and aims straight for the Majin fighter. He enters Super Saiyan and looks to attack him from ahead, but elegantly steps to the side and creates a hole in Majin Buu's stomach with the kick to his left flank. He whizzes around him for many more attacks, using his explosive strength and speed to leave Buu a sitting duck, taking attack after attack head on. Soon arriving ahead of him, he launches his double sundae straight at him and puts quite a bit of power into it. As the smoke clears, Buu is left in small pink blobs that look inanimate. However, they start to jiggle and collect back to form Buu, and he looks totally unharmed. Raditz makes a face of surprise and shock, dropping his arms with defeat. How much am I supposed to hit this guy with, he wonders. That wasn't far off his full power anyway. What would stop Buu from just healing from his strongest attack even if he were to use Super Saiyan 3? All he can do is just give it a shot anyway. Let me try this, Raditz states, lifting his hand. As he does so, Goku signals for everyone to back up. Why are we retreating? Shin asks. We'll only get in his way. He's gonna take up this space anyway, Goku replies. Take up the space? Shin isn't exactly sure what is going on, but retreats just like him. A white ball of ki flies up into the sky and Raditz looks directly at it. His veins start looking a lot larger and he looks back down with a smile on his face. Let me show you the epitome of Saiyan power, he roars as he starts to transform. Not only that, but he begins reaching for higher levels of Super Saiyan. As he grows, he is enveloped in a roaring golden aura and the hair on his head grows even longer than it already is. Giving out a final roar, he appears in the massive form of Uzaru, with golden fur and long hair running down the back of his head. Super Saiyan 3 and Uzaru mix to form the strongest Saiyan transformation they can attain. Would you look at this power? I haven't done this in too long, Raditz says, clenching his new gargantuan hands. Looking down to Buu, he just kicks him into the air as if he's a football. Buu then aims his antenna-like appendage from his head toward him and shoots a precise laser blast. However, Raditz launches a mouth blast and stops it before it can do anything. Next, he begins charging his ultimate attack. A red energy blast grows in his mouth, and the energy he outputs starts shaking the ground. Everyone around him moves out even further once they feel how intense these earthquakes are. It even leaves rubble to run down adjacent mountainsides, and the blast soon looks as large as his torso. Pushing it forward with a final shout, the red ball slams into Buu and detonates upon impact. The light released is a pure white and dazzling even to the Saiyans that view it from afar. The explosion only seems to grow and destroys absolutely everything in its wake. Once the light has died down, nothing is left of Buu. All that remains is the flattened crater from the explosion. The Kais can't believe it. This Saiyan took out Buu that quickly. They knew these Saiyans on Earth were strong, but to see that they've outclassed the literal Majin Buu is almost quite scary. They thought they'd be near equals to them after seeing people like Gohan transform and not be that strong. However, the difference between Gohan and this Saiyan, for example, is massive, hard to comprehend really. With this, the Kais are off and peace has returned to Earth. The Majin seal on Vegeta is lifted and he really must take some time to reflect on the things he did. Raditz doesn't sugarcoat it either. He tells him what he's done is terrible and that he has to make a change. He's only doing what he knows is best for him. Vegeta feels so awful for the lives he took at the World Tournament, and he let that power and desire to be the best take him over. Now he let Bulma and his own son see him in that way, a truly evil person, a demon. He does come around though, and his views on life have changed. Now the will for him to grow and be the best will never cease, that's just how Vegeta is. However, he feels a lot more content with the other parts of his life and sacrificing training if that means he can rest and spend time with those that he loves and cares about. After a few years, the beginning of Super comes around and Beerus has arrived on Earth to try and find the Super Saiyan God. Now he has his little fight with Goku beforehand but takes him down with just 3 hits. It's when he gains Super Saiyan God when things start to get interesting. The fight starts off similarly to how it was in canon. Beerus holds back a whole lot and Goku holds back a little himself but eventually ends up using his full power. Goku is excited to be fighting such a strong foe, but he knows that the fate of his whole planet rests on his hands. If Beerus isn't pleased, he could lose everyone, everything. Now that fuels him. He knows how to use emotions to fuel himself and ends up losing his cool in the battle. Beerus can see that he's fighting with more aggression and power, but it's still not that interesting. Ending up in the upper areas of the atmosphere, the air is growing terribly thin. Goku can feel himself suffocating and the pain is unlike anything he's ever felt before. I mean, he's been underwater and stuff, but once it gets bad, he's already getting air by that point. Here, he's being forced to stay here where he can't get enough air in and it hurts a lot. What accompanies that pain is that signature warm feeling. He's getting stronger. You've done well, Saiyan. I'm afraid to say that you haven't met my particular standards and that your planet must be. Leaping at Beerus as he's talking, he tries to land a double axe handle onto the top of his head, but Beerus stops him with a finger. Would you not try and attack me when I'm trying to explain that your planet will be destroyed? Goku just starts shouting, interrupting Beerus and throwing himself at him basically. He's in his base form now, so his attacks just won't hurt him. Beerus starts getting irritated and finger flicks him in the chest. Now this attack hurts him like hell. The pain is sent straight through his whole body, but you can feel that in just this minute or so, he's gotten way stronger. Even those below can feel it happening too. Did you feel that? Vegeta asks, with Raditz by his side. No, what? He asks, as everyone is looking up to try and see the fight. Kakarot's ki is exploding. I don't know what's happening up there, but he's just gotten way stronger all of a sudden. It keeps growing too, Vegeta states, watching from below. Goku coughs out blood from receiving the next punch to his gut, then just grabs Beerus' tail to bite it as hard as he can. Goku coughs out blood from receiving the next punch to his gut, then just grabs Beerus' tail to bite it as hard as he can. Beerus is getting quite annoyed of this animalistic outburst from Goku since he just won't stop coming at him. It's like the harder he hits him, he comes back even faster. It makes no sense whatsoever. What he can't keep getting out of his mind is destruction though. It's like he's being run by the power of destruction that allows him to just keep getting stronger. Now Goku is getting lightheaded from breathing thin air for so long, however there is just enough to keep him going. His stamina is also much greater in this continuity from the more grueling training that he's put himself through. Suddenly Goku begins shouting and enters Super Saiyan God again. Covered in his own blood, he doesn't seem to be stopping though. He continues shouting and trying to attain as much power as possible. He can't see those he loves die. He's tried his hardest to get power from just getting beat up, but the progress isn't what he was hoping for. The anger of being disappointed, the fear of seeing his family die, the ruthlessness of Beerus, all of these negative, painful emotions continue to weigh in on him but power him. Beerus can see that he is unstable, but doesn't quite understand why this outburst has come from out of nowhere basically. Suddenly, the red hue of his aura switches to blue, and his hair follows this same colour scheme. Goku transcends into Super Saiyan Blue on his first day of acquiring God Ki. Now 50 times stronger than before, along with massive amounts of power boosting, he charges forward with speed that Beerus hasn't seen from him before. Beerus gets caught with his first punch since it was just so unexpected. How has he grown this much so fast? Goku then grabs his tail and throws him down as fast as he can. Diving down there, he shoots himself down like an arrow and starts to take in the denser, thicker air that he needs. Soon he can feel his mind stabilizing and his body feeling nourished and more vigorous. Flipping around to slow himself down, Beerus has also stopped, but that doesn't mean the fight is over. He leaps forward but realizes that he has still suppressed himself too much. Goku slips out the way of the attack and punches him in the face in the same motion. He then flips around violently to kick him back. This creates a massive 15-meter gap between them. Beerus just can't believe his eyes after receiving that attack. This Saiyan has turned into a new fighter from out of nowhere. Even if he is surprised, he's quite angry to have been hit so cleanly like this, especially in front of spectators. After being the strongest for so long, it doesn't make it so easy to realise that he doesn't have total control here. Rushing straight back, he wins Goku with the first punch, before throwing two massive punches to his face. It's surely over now. A tooth flies out Goku's mouth on that last strike, and he returns to his base almost upon impact. He descends slightly but stops. Now Goku's mind here isn't straight. To call it consciousness would be wrong. All he has is a will to win, a will to save those he loves. The very thought of watching all of that disappear is enough to will his body to move. He doesn't move, but what he does is stay in flight. That's all that can be done. His eyes look lifeless as he looks down into nothingness. His hair covers most of his face, but those watching from below can see the zombie-like visage staring down at them. Is he even alive? How has he not fallen yet? Raditz asks, a little concerned now. Out of nowhere, Goku seems to spring back to life with a devilish smile on his face. Blood is on his teeth yet again, like in the Namek saga when he was facing Frieza, and he looks back up to Beerus. Roaring, he returns to Super Saiyan Blue and looks to complete the fight as if nothing's happened. The emotions have totally conquered his mind as he continues searching for more and more power. He lets his mind succumb to the pain as it just strengthens him even more. Beerus can feel the ki coming from him and starts to get alarmed. The gap between them is closing. Goku's body just continues feeding him with more power, and Goku just laughs, even with so much physical and mental pain. This is power. This is strength. It's almost like Goku turns into a different person with this power. That insane demeanor isn't something that Gohan or Raditz sees in Goku often. He's usually bubbly and terribly naive, but here he honestly looks demonic. Dashing toward Beerus with everything he has, Beerus slips over his punch and lands a strong enough neck tap to knock him out. Goku is definitely lights out and goes crashing down to the ground. That's it for him. Beerus watches on with eyes of surprise as this happens. The Saiyan really crossed a massive gap in just minutes of their fight. He went from standing absolutely no chance against him to getting scarily close to his own power. He is still strong enough to win if they were to fight again, but he had to put all his effort into that final strike. Whis heals him, and the Zenkai he receives is monumental. This already places him relative to Beerus, and he's climbed past every other god of destruction in the process. As he awakes, the ki that they can feel from him almost exudes a physical pressure. It's so weird to feel how much stronger he's become in such a short time. It's like a totally different person stands before them. Even if Goku has been healed, his mind still needs a lot of rest. Nevertheless, he gets that rest that he needs, and the Saiyans soon end up on Beerus' planet for training. As Raditz and Vegeta start to train Ultra Instinct, Beerus stops Goku. "What are you doing?" Goku asks. "You think you'll learn much from Whis?" "No." "You'll train with him if you want after I show you something," Beerus states. "What is that?" Goku wonders, now curious. "The power of destruction," he states, before lifting a small rock off the ground to detonate it. Goku just stands there in front of Beerus trying to take in what he's saying. This whole idea of destruction is just something he's never heard before. And he's excited upon hearing the whole thing. To know that there was this whole world of power out there that he didn't even tap into is amazing. He's fascinated by the power that he showcases yet and yet again. Goku is a quick learner and understands this mentality of destruction quite quickly. I mean, it's something that he's inadvertently developed in his mind from trying to deal with pain to make him stronger. As they're training, Frieza returns and wants to get revenge for his defeat those many years ago now. Frieza is already causing havoc back on Earth, but the Saiyans that stand in his way are the kids, Raditz Jr., Goten and Trunks. They all destroy the army with ease and even take down Takuma and Shisami. Raditz Jr. beckons Frieza to try and fight him. Frieza wouldn't mind amusing himself for a short while. Leaping out his pod, he rushes forward to kick Raditz Jr. in the chest, but he doesn't really move from the attack. Punching Frieza back now in Super Saiyan, he steps ahead to kick him in the gut. Before Frieza can even react, Trunks appears from the side and launches his full-power tree cannon, a simpler version of his father's final flash. The blast lands head-on and all Frieza can do is lift his arm to try and block it. However, he still gets quite hurt by the blast and his skin looks quite badly scorched on his left arm. Therefore, he chooses to lift all the way up into his final form. These kids are going to pay for their rashness. Charging toward Raditz Jr. again, he moves so fast that the kids don't even initially react to what he's doing. He ends up hitting him so hard that he knocks him out. He then grabs Trunks by the neck and Goten is left in a very sticky situation. This stress, this fear, seeing his cousin knocked out on the floor isn't easy to stomach, especially for a kid his age. Exploding with rage, he begins using Super Saiyan 2. Leaping at Frieza, he punches him back and lands a vicious front kick to his chest. Both attacks send him sliding back a few meters while also freeing Trunks. Frieza grumbles with annoyance before speeding forward to continue the fight. Even if Goten has gotten stronger from this transformation and the mental pain, he can't just grow that much that quickly. Frieza still has the clear upper hand and dismantles him swiftly. Punching Goten in the solar plexus, he feels like he's lost all the air in his lungs and returns to his base form. The fight looks to be over, but Frieza lets out his pent-up rage and just keeps beating Goten around. Soon he grabs onto Goten's hair and lifts him off the floor. "You look just like him, don't you?" Frieza asks, with a sinister smile on his face. Little does he know, every single hit he lands on Goten makes him stronger. The physical pain invigorates him. Shooting right back up into Super Saiyan 2, he manages to surprise Frieza with his sudden increase in strength and frees himself. Landing back on the ground, he begins firing off a barrage of ki blasts at Frieza with this new sense of ferocity. Raditz Jr. has just about woken up now and can see that Goten has exploded past them all of a sudden. Not only has he unlocked Super Saiyan 2, but they can feel his power growing as he continues to fight. Just like his father Goku, he has that power as well. Frieza is doing a good job of blocking all the blasts, but he can feel each one getting more and more impactful as time passes. He's growing. Eventually, he flies up and over the initial wave and drives down a knee to Goten's face, making him cough out blood before he backhands him across the face and drops him in the process. Yet again though, Goten stands and leaps back to headbutt Frieza in the chest as hard as he can. He throws a wave of wild punches, but Frieza steps back numerous times, blocking or evading each one as it comes. Finally, he grabs his arm to swing him around, slamming him into the floor to knock him out. In the very next moment though, Raditz appears to punch him. This punch sends him about 500 meters away and he destroys the first mountain he impacts. "That's what you get for hurting my son," Raditz shouts, before dusting off his knuckles. Frieza coughs out blood from receiving that punch and just can't believe how strong that was. He didn't even get to see who had hit him either. He knows that wasn't the kid though. Goten was growing stronger, but not at that rate. He was still far above him just a second before he received that strike. Suddenly, Raditz appears in front of him using instant transmission. "Hello Frieza," he says, with his arms crossed. "Raditz, I should have known," Frieza says, before coughing even more intensely. This attack sends Frieza into a frenzy. Ripping himself from the mountain, he screams and goes in guns blazing. Trying to throw a wave of punches, all Raditz has to do is retreat fast enough so that all he hits is air. Finally, he knees Frieza in the gut and lands a devastating hook that throws him into the rocky ground below. Raditz lands ahead of him, and Frieza is left with slow, sluggish movements. Those two hits hurt him quite badly and he didn't hold back with that final punch either. He does manage to get back up to his feet but stumbles a little before his vision starts to focus again. "Is that all you can do? You're stronger now, I must admit, but you still can't match your Saiyans in the slightest," Raditz explains. Frieza just can't take this. It can't be true, can it? Even after the months of training, he reached new heights that he didn't even think were possible for him. However, he's just been defeated by Raditz so easily. Nevertheless, this isn't his strongest form. He shows off his new golden form, blasting forward to drive both of his legs into Raditz's chest. This attack hurts him a lot since he's still in his base form. He gets launched back and sent sliding over the floor, holding his chest in pain. He can feel the heavy strain in his ribcage and is lucky that they didn't just snap on impact. To be fair, he is arrogant, but not arrogant enough to try and beat Frieza in his base form. His hair starts to flow and turn to a bright red. He knows that if he wants to win here, he has to step things up. Frieza looks upon Super Saiyan God Raditz for the first time ever and is stunned. It looks like he wasn't the only person training. Raditz advances and looks like a blur to Frieza. All he can see is this blurry image approaching him, and in the next moment, rough knuckles have smashed him in the face. He's sent flying back and spinning in the air wildly. Raditz doesn't stop here though and zooms right after him. Kicking him viciously, he swoops around to arrive at his back and land a powerful palm slam. Since it lands on Frieza's upper torso, he's sent flipping forward numerous times until he pulls himself to a stop eventually. He's still breathing intensely, looking around with energy to try and locate Raditz. However, he moves around as he tries to survey the area, making it that much harder to find him. He doesn't really know where he is, all he sees is a red blur. Little does he know, as he looks around, the Saiyan is slowly approaching and closing the distance between them. Raditz has had enough of playing around now. It's felt great to beat him up and claim superiority over him. After all those years, he can just look at the confused Emperor with a smile on his face, knowing that he has this fight in the bag. He hasn't even had to resort to Super Saiyan Blue. Super Saiyan God has done a good job to have so much power, freedom, confidence. The man he was would be elated to see how far he's come and how far this Emperor has fallen. The fight has been amusing, but we did come here to take revenge. You hurt our children, you came to hurt and kill innocents. I cannot forgive that, Raditz states. Destroying your empire brought peace to so many, including us, and we do not want that to end, Raditz says, holding a palm up to his face. How about you ensure the best for those people with a leading office in my empire? You can be my right-hand man. Install the peace and prosperity that you want with your own hand. That is not peace, no matter how you put it. Conquest, incursions, murder. That cannot coexist with peace, and sadly you are the personification of all those qualities. Peace cannot coexist with you, Raditz says, and then a blast starts to form in his hand. It doesn't look like he wants to ask any more questions. He blasts Frieza and destroys him with this single blast. The arc has come to a close. Frieza is gone for sure this time, and after this the group just continue their training. After so long under Beerus' tutelage, Goku has harnessed his power. Beerus' whole ideology and dogma of destruction is perfectly compatible with his unique abilities. He can force himself through the hard times and use that pain to power himself without going down that dark side. You can see Beerus makes use of dark powers with destruction though. However, he never lets it take him over and turn him into that person. Of course, the chances of that happening to Beerus are far lower since the nature of his power is slightly different to Goku's, but there's still something to learn from him. Goku's golden earring glistens under the light illuminating Beerus' planet. Behind Beerus stands the large dead tree at its center, and the other Saiyans watch from beside. Alright, show me the power that you've spent so long mastering. You should have it down by now, Beerus says, making his stance. I hope I do, Goku says, placing his left fist forward to make his battle stance. Both warriors stare each other down closely, circling around each other for a few seconds. Vegeta then grunts with impatience. We came to see a battle, not a standstill. Fight already, Vegeta shouts. Goku speeds off at Beerus, who slips past his first punch and kicks him in the chin in the same fluid movement. This knocks him back and he tries coming back, but Beerus makes sure to show off his skill. Moving like water, he lets several punches flow past him before elbowing Goku in the face and landing a 1-inch punch to his chest to slide him tens of meters back. Goku isn't rash enough to go rushing in again, so he stays back and tries to analyze the playing field. Grabbing a loose rock, he kicks it at Beerus, then focuses on it. He clamps down his left hand once it approaches him, detonating it. As the smoke clears, Beerus just stands there with his arms crossed. Impressive, he states, before rushing forward so fast that the smoke blasts apart. Now, Goku does have some impressive technique, especially for a mortal that has only lived for 40 or so years, but compared to Beerus, it's not even close. He has millions of years on him, and even if he hasn't spent that much time training or doing anything productive, 0.1% of a million years is still a millennium. He still had more than enough time to train up and master the art of battle. Beerus starts picking Goku apart, not even using his superior power at this point. He can use his technique to outwit and outbox Goku, leaving him in quite the sticky situation. With Ultra Instinct, he'd be dodging all these strikes. Unlucky, Raditz comments as he fights. Where is your destruction? Where is that power that hides within you? Beerus asks, before sweeping his feet. Finally, he lands a downward punch to shoot him to the ground, making it quake. Goku grunts in pain, but this is his domain. Pain doesn't put him out anymore, leaving him feeling defeated. No, it exhilarates him. Flipping around, he's back on his feet and ready to go again, but Beerus doesn't hold back as much this time. He doesn't want to just have a little spar with Goku, he wants to truly test him. As Beerus leaps forward to kick him, Goku steps back and throws a Hakai Blast. Beerus reacts in kind, throwing his right hand in an outwards motion to swing the dark purple blast out. The two blasts collide and their Hakai energy cancels each other out. The explosion does leave a clean shaven hole in the ground though, as the matter that has been contacted by this energy has been erased. Beerus begins shooting long and fast ki blasts from his index and middle fingers, making Goku jump around as fast as he can. Now these are Hakai blasts, if he gets caught with one of them, he might be erased. Are we going to be using attacks like that in the fight? Goku asks, a little startled by the sudden danger that Beerus just put him through. I'm not trying to be your parent, Goku. We're here to fight, and if you lose and are erased, you were too weak in the first place. This is battle. Throw all those restraints away. Utilize that destruction and become boundless, Beerus insists. Even with as much insisting and intensity that Beerus tries to give him, Goku can't make it click. He still can't claim the win. He's grown stronger from this fight, yes, but Beerus isn't feeding into his power right now. He's landing attacks that hurt, but not once has he gone on a frenzy just throwing attack after attack. He's remained somewhat composed and just used his technique and battle intelligence to properly dismantle him. Goku has fallen to a knee. The pain hasn't taken him, but the fatigue has. He's running out of energy. Beerus, even though he hasn't been putting a lot of intensity or effort in, has been forcing him to carry on at a high level for so long. However, he stomps back up onto 2 feet and clenches his fists very tightly until they start vibrating. Feeling a sudden surge of power, Goku lets it all go. This might just be what Beerus was searching for. He looked indifferent to what was happening. Beerus had almost lost hope in him. However, this might just be what he was hoping to see. Goku's hair turns to a bright purple and his aura follows this same colour scheme. His eyebrows are replaced by ridges and he just gives off a light smirk. Ultra Ego Goku is born. Alright then, so this is what you were talking about, Goku says, giving off a smile that he doesn't usually give. It's like he's turned into a different person with this form. Crouching down, he opens his eyes wide enough to make him look akin to a crazy person. Then he smiles and reveals his signature bloody teeth. Let's get cracking, he shouts, before dashing toward Beerus. The gap in their strength is alarming and Beerus doesn't even perceive him as he comes. Goku lands one punch and it's a great one. It lands cleanly on Beerus' jaw and sends him flying back like an arrow, straight into the massive trees several miles from them. Standing there smiling, he prepares to blast off and continue the fight, but Whis appears behind him and forcefully taps the staff into his back. Goku's hair returns to black and he passes out completely. Back into his base form, he's completely out cold and on the floor. Whis had to step in and stop the fight because that could have gone south very quickly. Goku wasn't even in the right mind to hold back and let Beerus get his control. He would have gone as hard as he could and possibly killed him. That simply cannot happen under the Angel's watch, and he swiftly attends to Beerus before the grave damages he's received cause anything more severe. After this fight, Beerus meets his brother Champa and they still wish to compare their universes in terms of their battle power. They each form teams to participate in the Tournament of Destroyers, and the first candidate from Universe 7 is Goten. Since the fight with Frieza, he's gone to his brother Gohan to learn more about how their power even works. Upon doing so, he's learned that they can make themselves go through pain and gain strength from that. After hearing such, his whole training regime has changed. Now he is just a kid and can't take anywhere near the same stuff that Goku can now. However, it's been enough for the gap between him and his friends to steadily increase. Beginning in Super Saiyan, he rushes at Botamo and throws a flurry of punches. There's nothing that he can do to try and break through the impenetrable wall of blubber keeping Botamo safe, and he laughs as he takes each shot. Is that all you have, he asks, tauntingly, beckoning Goten to attack him again. Shouting, he enters Super Saiyan 2 and does just that. However, he still can't hurt him. Out of frustration, he shoves him back to then try and continue with some combinations again. Much to his surprise, this shove throws him off the ring and deems him the winner. Striking Force was very easy for him to deal with, but other things he couldn't handle as well. The next opponent for him is Frost. Goten immediately sees the spitting image of Frieza in his face and body. He can tell he's from that same race from the Twin Universe. This puts him on edge right away upon looking back to that intense fight. Goten hasn't really had to fight foes like Goku did from a young age. That's the most dangerous and life-threatening fight that he's had in his life. It's his only battle against a true villain. Therefore, those aren't very good memories for him. However, he's happy to see that Frost isn't like Frieza and seems a lot nicer and more amiable. This makes him more pleased for the fight and believes that it will be less heated and intense. He can just let his fist do the talking and have a nice time with this guy. Leaping at him, he throws an aerial kick and sends Frost flying to the edge of the ring. He looks a little frightened from Frost's reaction and almost feels bad for hitting him like that. After seeing the person that he portrayed himself as, he feels guilt but just prepares to continue the fight anyway. Frost then stands and shouts, powering up into his third form. You made me use my final form already. You really do pack a punch, Frost comments. Final form? This isn't the form that he remembers Frieza having. Their first forms looked very similar, but this one is different. Oh well, they're different fighters, aren't they? He isn't entirely sure how his whole species works, so just throws it into the back of his mind. As they continue the fight though, Goten still has the clear advantage. This is when Frost resorts to his true final form. Alright, I was joking. This is the best for me, Frost says. Jumping up, flipping slowly and driving down his leg, he lands a kick straight on Goten. He manages to block the attack so it doesn't injure him that badly, but it's not like the strike didn't hurt him. As Frost lands, he then fights with a sense of brutality and viciousness that Goten simply wasn't expecting. Aiming mainly for powerful punches and kicks to the head, Goten is left to stumble back and wipe blood from his nose. Frost looks to continue his aggressive assault, but Goten leaves him in place with his power up into Super Saiyan. He lands back on his feet and zips toward him, leaving a pure golden trail of energy behind him. Throwing two powerful punches into his gut, Frost is left struggling to breathe. After he attacked him so intensely like that, Goten hasn't been scared to let a little more power out. Swiveling around, he kicks Frost off the ring before he can use his sneaky poison. The fight is over and Goten has claimed yet another win for Universe 7. Champa wasn't too bothered about that first win from the boy. Maybe he's just talented. However, he's taken down 2 of his starting fighters and doesn't seem to even be breaking a sweat either. This isn't going as he expected. However, he looks to his side and sees some of the other warriors that he has in store for his brother's universe. Vegeta, Kaba, Hit. They should be able to take that win home. Vegeta stands firm and Goten powers up into Super Saiyan and starts things off. After finishing those last 2 fights off quite quickly, it's only done good for his confidence. He feels belief in himself that he can win this fight and continue winning. Punching Vegeta, he falls back and shakes off his hand while blowing it from feeling how hard he is to hit. He feels like a complete rock. That hard metal that he has contacted isn't going to be a good thing to strike. Therefore, he powers up into Super Saiyan as he is stood there, then jumps at him. Pulling his legs ahead, he extends them once he is in range and knocks him back a step or 2 with that initial kick. Upon landing that shot, steam starts to power off Vegeta's openings, mainly the 2 circles in his chest that reveal the lava inside him. He then throws forward his boulder-like hand and smashes into Goten's face, knocking him back quite far. This attack packs more power than Goten was expecting and sent him sliding and rolling away. It feels weird to get hit by somebody so large and powerful, since it doesn't really happen to him often. It feels like he got hit by an energy wave or something. Nevertheless, he feels this weird tingling in mainly his back and chest. It's a weird after effect he gets from feeling really bad pain, and it gets more intense the more intense the pain is. He really doesn't know what it is, but it's a feeling that he kind of likes in a way. Makes the pain not as terrible, easier to tolerate. Anyway, he tries to continue fighting but finds that as the battle continues, Vegeta is growing stronger and faster. The power of his attacks is literally being used to power him and make him a more formidable foe. Goten receives 2 punches to his face and leaves him a little startled. Stumbling slightly, he then gets hit with a few more attacks straight onto his body that leave him dazed. Things aren't looking great for him. However, these people haven't seen his best. Nowhere near. Once he crouches and powers up, that tightness and blood rush to his head makes him feel lively again. Bringing himself right back into the battle, he roars and begins charging his ki again. Those in Universe 6 aren't very confident that this will do anything. Even Vegeta isn't. They believe that Vegeta can take the win home. However, Goten's hair begins to lengthen and with that his power shoots through the roof. Super Saiyan 3 Goten is here. Letting the pristine glow of this powerful form die down, he just stands there with a firm neutral face. He looks like a new fighter entirely with a new strong focus. Goten uses this immediate 8 times multiplier to his power and speed blitzes the hunk of metal. His first kick sends him sliding over the whole arena and has left a dent in his chest piece. Before Goten can advance again though, Vegeta switches to a style of range. Launching out a wave of lava blasts straight at the Saiyan, he has to use his agility and speed to dodge them. One blast reaches dangerously close to him, forcing him to almost throw himself out the way. It lands on the ground and he sees that the strong rock of the arena is made to just melt away. If that's what happens to that tough stone, what will happen to him? He doesn't want to see what will happen, so as he sees another wave of them coming, he takes this into his own hands. Launching his Kamehameha wave straight at the blasts, it overpowers them and the blast then slams straight into Vegeta. At the contact between the blast and the metal, it begins to melt away and damage his body. He is thrown out the ring and eliminated. Goten is on a complete roll right now. Just how is he pulling this off? What did you teach him back on Earth? Raditz asks, a little frightened by the boy's power. Goku made sure to never model his training with Goten like his solitary training. He didn't want to make him face that same darkness and pain that he had to. However, from seeing how much he has grown in such a short time, it's clear to him that he's been taking advantage of that. Goku is doing a pretty good job right now with not letting it take him over. However, this pain has changed him, he cannot deny that. He doesn't want that same darkness to linger within his son as well. From what he's seeing, he's doing just fine, but Goku's going to make sure that he talks to him after this tournament is done. Next, Goten is up to face Kaba. Now, Kaba is struggling to wrap his head around how this young kid has managed to take out over half of Champa's finest warriors. It's a bit frightening to see how easily his teammates were defeated, but he isn't like them. Oh wow, so you're a Saiyan too, Goten says warmly. I am, Kaba replies. That's amazing. How about we fight in Super Saiyan from the get-go then? To make things more interesting, Goten offers as he makes his stance. Super Saiyan, I'm sorry, but I'm not entirely sure about what you're referring to. Goten raises an eyebrow with surprise. He doesn't know what a Super Saiyan is. Now that's weird. His whole life he's been told about these numerous forms that a Saiyan can attain. Not only is there Super Saiyan 1 to 3, but once a Saiyan uses God Ki, there are even more forms that one can acquire. Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue. How do the Saiyans in Universe 6 not even have the basic Super Saiyan state? If they don't, why is he here participating in this tournament? How can he stand a chance? This is annoying slightly, but Goten will be fine continuing like this. He likes fighting, so either way, he's fine with the match. Blasting off toward Kaba, he punches him in the chest, but he falls back a little and doesn't seem that hurt. Goten tries to then kick him from another angle, but Kaba catches his leg then throws him into the arena floor. The slam is powerful, and Goten does feel quite hurt from it. However, with the energy and durability of a young boy, he springs back up and acts like he hasn't even been hurt at all. Yet again though, his assault is managed and countered by Kaba, who is just the physically superior of the two. Kaba was equal to base Vegeta at the canon point in this timeline, but his Goten just isn't at that point yet. He doesn't have God Ki to have boosted him up to that point, but how close he is quite alarming. Goten places his arms into an X formation, blocking a strong combination from Kaba that slowly slides him across the arena. Universe 6 are gaining hope, with Champa shouting for Kaba to finish this while he can. Swinging back his leg as far as he can, he thrusts forward his leg for a front kick. The win is his. However, Goten catches his shin with a few embers of golden energy floating off his hand. His hair lifts and his eyes then switch to a sea blue. Goten ascends into Super Saiyan and then pulls Kaba by his leg. He lifts him off his only foot right away and launches him across the wide arena. He's sent rolling and can't even focus onto the world that continuously spins around him. Soon coming to a stop, he tries to reach out his arm to get up, only to see that it's touching nothing. His hand has reached over the edge of the ring and almost touched the ground outside. Kaba instinctively pulls back his hand then rolls the other way, only to see Goten within punching range. He lands a single uppercut to his chin and sends him flipping and flying off the ring. Goten, an absolute phenom, has managed to take down everyone in Universe 6 except for their most powerful warrior, the Great Assassin Hit. He stands before the young boy and doesn't budge an inch. Goten looks intimidated by his appearance, but those from Universe 7 convince him that he can do this. I mean, he's swiftly taken down every other threat before, so what will change with this one? He makes sure to begin in Super Saiyan 2. He's sure just his base form won't cut things right now. As soon as he takes his first step though, he receives a kick to his chest from seemingly out of nowhere. It was just like Hit appeared in front of him. In the next moment, he's been thrown off the ring and eliminated. The others are surprised at what's happened here, but Vegeta then succeeds Goten to try and face Hit. He stands ahead of him with his arms crossed and isn't bothered. He's sure that he'll win. All he does is power into Super Saiyan, and those of Universe 6 feel quite impressed with how much stronger this adult Saiyan is than Goten. He's on a totally different level. Speeding off toward Hit, he throws his first punch that is easily blocked by him. It seems that there is still a gap between them, but maybe he got lucky. Vegeta continues to fight in this state, but sees that he won't be winning like this. He is definitely the weaker fighter. Wildly swinging out for a ranged hook, all Hit does is use his time skip to zip around him and attack him. This kick lands straight on his jaw and it's a great connection. A few ooze come from the Universe 6 fighters as they see Vegeta stumble back a little. There are a few seconds where Vegeta tries to stay calm. It's been part of his training. To use Ultra Instinct, he must throw away his worldly mortal constraints and let his mind calm. How does Whis expect him to do that though, when he's been publicly humiliated? He really does find this Ultra Instinct thing annoying. All this does is set him off though. He looks back up with flaming eyes of fury and he looks ready to battle. Vehemently shouting, he ascends all the way up into Super Saiyan Blue. His transformation cracks the arena and those of Universe 7 know he means business. He moves so fast with his initial step that Hit doesn't even have enough time to think about using time skip. By the time he's clocked what's happening, a fist has already been thrown into his face. Hit is launched, but Vegeta doesn't want to end things here. No, he has to get his get back for that hit from before. That hasn't satisfied him just yet. Arriving by his back, he starts pinging him around like a ping pong ball across the ring. Hit struggles to even stay on good footing as the forces from beside him are always throwing him off balance. It's like he's in a perpetual state of falling, but the attacks from around him are keeping him up somehow. Not only that, but these attacks also hurt a lot. Vegeta doesn't know it, but these swinging kicks, elbows to the sternum, punches to the face, he's fracturing bones. He lands 2 uppercuts to the chin in quick succession before swiveling around to drive out his leg for a side kick. Hit is lifted off his feet from the force and can't gain his footing before he's out of bounds and eliminated. Vegeta drops his leg and just scoffs with arrogance. Good riddance, he claims, before returning to his base. Whis says that he's impressed with his power, but reaffirms to him that this path of rage and pride will not allow him to attain Ultra Instinct. He knows it and nods with affirmation, but in the back of his mind he thinks about if Ultra Ego would be better for him. No, he could never go down Kakarot's path. He must carve his own and show that his own is superior. Raditz seems to be doing quite well in it. It's a struggle for sure, but he's making good progress. Upon the conclusion of this tournament, Goten has to make a choice. Chi-Chi is making him go down the road of education and basically the road that Gohan went down. It seems fulfilling for him, but he knows he could never live that way. After having that whole tournament, the exhilaration of the battle was just too much for him to let go. The pain he receives from fighting, it's weird, but he doesn't want to cut that off from his life. And that's what makes it that much more exciting. After seeing how strong his father and his friends are becoming, it feels like he's being left behind. The gap between them is just so large now. To be honest, Raditz Jr. and Trunks can't even touch Goten now. He's way above them. Raditz Jr. is slightly ahead of Trunks still, but they usually alternate between who is stronger as they grow older. After months, he gains the willpower to tell his mother that he wants to be a fighter. Chi-Chi isn't fond of it at all, knowing how dangerous Goku's life has been and how it's almost changed him. He seems a lot more aloof and serious at times, like a different person. Goku does seem to win almost every time he fights strong foes, but what if there's one time where Goten just can't do it and he's killed? The very thought makes her terrified and she swiftly disagrees with him. However, it's not like Goten can't make money. He's the strongest fighter on Earth. He could easily fight in fighting leagues and stuff around the world and cash in a lot from his efforts. They'd be set for life. Chi-Chi isn't against that proposition as long as he keeps a secret identity about it and doesn't become some worldwide superstar. After that though, he's allowed to train with Goku on Beerus' planet for a short while. Chi-Chi does insist on the word short as she says this. She's done this very begrudgingly and still doesn't want to see him become a fighter. It's not a real profession in her eyes and it's just too risky. Upon arriving at Whis' planet, the first part of his training is to get him to learn God Ki. He does that surprisingly quickly, but what is even more surprising is how strong he becomes after. He is in Super Saiyan God just checking out this new feeling he's gotten. His Ki has surged through the roof, but the Saiyans can't sense God Ki and don't know how much progress he's made. He really was closer to you Saiyans than you think, Whis states. Alright then, let's test you Goten. Let's see how you fare against me, Raditz says, making his stance. Goten, even if he is stronger, is still scared. This guy that he is up to fight has been stronger than him his whole life. Has he really grown enough to beat him? Returning to his base form, he can feel the boost to his power and everyone around him can now. Raditz's smile wipes straight off his face. This kid got that strong just from absorbing God Ki. Goten gets himself ready, then flies off to Raditz, kicking his lifted arm. He sends him sliding back more than 20 meters and those watching can't believe their eyes. Raditz dashes ahead to try and land a hit of his own, thrusting forward his leg for a front kick. Goten evades the attack though, leaping right over to land a kick of his own to his head. As he lands, he then throws his whole body forward and headbutts him in the gut, throwing him off his feet. He's sent rolling across the floor and can't believe it. This little child has sent him flying like this. Is he dreaming? He's been training under Whis for who knows how long now. Years, numerous years. He's been training God Ki and receiving divine training, while Goten has only received a little bit of that. He grew to this point from literally just training on his own on Earth. He really is Goku's son. As he grits his teeth, lifting back up, Whis receives a call from Bulma. Future Trunks is back and he isn't faring well at all. Not only does he look beat up like in canon, but Bulma had to bring him into Capsule Corp to keep him on life support. They can see numerous wires hooked up to his body and the ventilator used to keep him breathing. Safe to say they're ready to go. These Saiyans can independently use instant transmission, with Goten holding on to Goku as they leave. Upon arriving at the Capsule Corp, they hear from Trunks about what's happening. He's still recovering from his injuries and a young child. Goten has been wreaking havoc on his whole world. He's destroyed every god somehow, leaving the mortals of Earth to fend for themselves against the incredibly powerful threat. The Saiyans want to head down there as soon as possible, and especially Goku. He knows how strong he can become. If he lets his power run loose, nobody is safe from him. The rate at which he grows, he's already left Beerus in the dust. When he fights him in just his base form, it's not like he can't win at all. He can challenge Beerus and end it in a stalemate if he wants to. Goten has his powers, and now that it's in the hands of the wrong person, so many things can go wrong. They all travel to the future and Raditz is up first against Goten Black. With them is Goten. After receiving God Ki and continuing to train on the Whis, he's above Raditz and Vegeta. It's insane to think about, but what he does lack is technique and skill. When he fights Raditz and Vegeta, he doesn't win because he just isn't as skilled and his battle intelligence isn't there yet. Also, he doesn't really have very good willpower, so he can't push himself to the edge like they can. However, the gap between them is narrowing. They're so surprised to see that he's been causing this evil through the body of a child. He looks just like Goten does, who is spooked by how eerily similar they look. It is his body after all. Raditz flies up there, spinning around the vertical axis of his body and arrives in front of Goten Black. Both of them stare each other down, and just from his glare he can tell that this is no child. What he sees is arrogance, craziness. "Who are you and why have you taken my nephew's body?" Raditz asks, with boldness. "I need to bring purity and peace to this universe. With mortals running around killing each other and impurifying this realm, that can never be achieved," Goten Black says. Raditz is weirded out by this ideology of his. It's weird that he seems so convinced with that line of reasoning, and it's clear. He's actually gone out and killed countless people and gone so far to try and realize this delusion. "Alright then, I'm tired of this," Raditz says. He doesn't want to hear any more of his talk. After just thinking of everything he's done, taking a look down at the ruined city they're flying above, Raditz gets furious. Flying forward, he punches Goten powerfully in the face and sends him flying. This is almost surprising to him. The Goten that they know wouldn't fly back like that if he took that punch. It would probably hurt him but wouldn't leave him in that state. Just what is happening here? As they continue to fight, you can see that this Goten Black can't harness all the power that Goten's body does. Not only that, but he is also simply an inferior fighter. He hasn't received the divine training that Goten has and simply isn't a fighter. He may have the body of a Saiyan, but he isn't one. Raditz rushes past the side of him and punches him in the face before swerving around and kicking him in the back to launch him forward. This sends him flipping and flying forward wildly, and he can't even see any of the attacks that come next. Punches, close-up ki blasts, Raditz does it all. He then finishes it how it started, a straight punch to his jaw. However, it doesn't end like how it began. He takes the punch and grits his teeth, pushing against it forcefully. Just what has happened here? Raditz then gets kicked in the stomach and launched away at high speed. This is not the same Goten Black that he was facing before. Was he holding back this whole time? Raditz grunts in pain and lifts up from the debris covered building that he has just landed onto. The way he was fighting, he could see the desperation in his eyes. There was no suppression at play there. He could see the disgust and fury within him whenever he got hit by him, like he felt it was wrong for him to get hurt by a mortal from what he was spouting before. He's getting stronger. However, this is worse than the canon Goku Black. Not only is the connection between Zamasu and his new body advancing, but the pain he feels from the fight is accelerating his power growth even more. Goku has been watching and known this the entire time. He let Raditz have his fun after seeing how strong he was, but wasn't expecting that sort of growth. Therefore, he decides to step in. "No, don't just play around with him. If you want to fight him, give it all you have," Goku shouts. All he has. Alright, Goku is taking it too far there. At least that's what Raditz believes. He does step things up a notch though, using Super Saiyan 3. His hair becomes slightly longer than it was before, but looks far fuller and thicker than before. Now 400 times stronger, he advances and harshly knees Goten Black in the face. Then, with him shot off like a rocket, pulls back both hands. 2 purplish energy balls grow in his hands, then he launches his full power double Sunday. The 2 blasts are shot at the young boy, who is forced to catch onto both of them. Just the kinetic energy behind these blasts is enough to send him flying back, but then it engulfs him and detonates just like your bog standard energy wave. The smoke around him slowly waves and clears off him, leaving just his heavily injured body. Now this isn't good. Being left with these injuries is only empowering him. Raditz continues with confidence, but the gap between them even now begins to close. Once they're fighting like almost equals, Goten Black unlocks his Super Saiyan form. The noise is spine-chilling, and the screams from Raditz after are even more terrifying. He's too injured and weak to power back up, making those that are watching extremely scared. Goten Black cackles and lifts one hand to try and finish things off. An energy wave fires down to Raditz, who can't even lift without feeling a burning agony in his chest. Coughing out blood, the energy wave goes flying at him but then shoots off into the sky out of nowhere. It's rebounded off the area somehow without hitting Raditz. From Goten Black's perspective, it looks like he's just worked magic. How has the energy blast bounced off him like a ball hitting a wall? Where's the explosion? Cutting off the blast, Vegeta is seen ahead of him with his hand lifted. "I didn't think I'd have to step in to save you, Raditz," Vegeta says. With his hand lifted, he erupts in blue ki and begins using Super Saiyan Blue. Shooting up, he leaves a sharp blue trail from his insane speed. At the last second though, he teleports using instant transmission and carries this impetus from his flight to attack him from an awkward angle. Kicking him in the side of the ribcage, his liver is rattled by the strike and honestly sends him. Vegeta is persistent though and lands strong heavy hits to deal as much damage as possible. Yet again, Goku watches while biting his tongue. Even Goten knows what is happening. After a final attack, Goten Black takes the attack and doesn't fall back as much as Vegeta was expecting or hoping. That's when he can't see it anymore. Goku appears in front of Vegeta and stops him before he can continue. "I can't let you do this. If you carry on, he will beat you," Goku explains. "Who are you to say that to me, Kakarot? You think I don't know my own limits?" he roars. However, even as he barks back, he powers down. There's no resisting Goku. He's just too strong, so all he can do is talk like this. There's not much that he can say to him. He has my son's body and he has my powers. I don't know how though, but he's growing insanely fast. If he isn't stopped now, very bad things can happen, he replies. Goten Black feels annoyed that Goku can talk like this in front of him. He's acting like he can easily get rid of him, like he isn't even a threat. Now that infuriates him. "Who are you to say this, Saiyan? That won't stop me growing past you." Goku turns to him with eyes of death. Appearing in front of him, he just looks at him and doesn't move. Goten from below is a little spooked by Goku's serious nature. This isn't the Goku that fathered him and trained him when he was younger. This is the Goku that endured the years of agonizing training that he put himself through and came out on the other side a formidable warrior. He was forced to drown out those emotions that softened him, weakened him. What is left is the pure mind of a fighter. He looks like he's teleported as he advances. Goten Black just gets sent flying even with him in Super Saiyan. As he is flying back, Goku appears behind him to then further shoot him forward with an elbow to his back. He pings him around for a short time just to rub in his superiority. However, he'd just be doing what Vegeta and Raditz were. He's come here to stop this. Stopping him, he grabs him by the neck of his shirt and starts to tremble slightly. Once he looks at his face, all he sees is his son. Before, just hitting him didn't do much to hurt him. However, now that he sees the body of his son, he can't detach the body from the mind. I mean, life hasn't evolved to be able to comprehend this. The mind and the body are essentially the same in the wild. He begins shaking more intensely, slamming his teeth together with anger. He begins to grunt and the Hakai Blast grows in his open hand. "Why did you have to take my son's body?" Goku curses him under his breath. Goten Black begins to resist upon feeling the dark energy coming from his hand. Goku's mastery over Hakai energy isn't perfect and it means that this blast is quite unstable. A small bit of the blast's energy sheds off and descends into a building and what Goten Black sees is terrifying. Whatever it touches disappears, is totally erased. It glows brightly before vanishing. Looking back to Goku, there's only one thing on his mind: escape. He tugs and tugs at Goku's powerful hand, but there's no moving here. His grasp is far too tight. Seconds pass, with Goku taking no action. This is the enemy, he tells himself. The enemy, not his son. His son is down there with his uncle away from all this. This is the enemy. This is the enemy. Shouting with vehemence, he fights his mind and slams the blast into Goten Black with his eyes closed. A bright light is released from Goten Black and he turns to sparks of light that fizzle out and turn into nothing at all. He's been erased and defeated. Peace has returned to this realm. Now they return to the present and future Trunks thanks them for their efforts. With Trunks now back in the future, the Saiyans just continue their own training in the present timeline. The following arc is the Tournament of Power arc. Now once news of this Tournament of Power spreads, Champa is adamant on cancelling it. Even after the gods explicitly state that any universe that is eliminated will be erased, Beerus still wants to go through with it. Champa knows exactly why, and that's because Beerus has an absolutely stacked universe. He will never forget what Goten did in the Tournament of Destroyers and how he defeated many of his strongest fighters. If those adult Saiyans that didn't even get to participate are stronger than him, his universe will stand no chance and will just end up being erased. Now, Universe 6 isn't a terribly weak universe. There are definitely other universes out there with many much weaker fighters. Therefore, he's sure that other universes will just end up being erased as well. Those from the other universes have been sensing the power emitting off those warriors too and feel a little intimidated. The gods don't remember mortals being that strong. Zeno understands their thoughts. He does want something entertaining, so if Goku's already much stronger than everyone else, what will there be to enjoy from that? Therefore, he will think of what they could do. For now, there aren't many other ideas, so the universes are free to leave. During this time, Moro has escaped from prison and Meris heads over to Earth to try and seek the strongest warriors in their universe. Majin Buu has been destroyed, so he can't search for the power of the Grand Kai to help him. Instead, he must search for the Saiyans or any of Earth's finest warriors. Now Goten has sadly returned to Earth. Chi-Chi is getting quite scared of his son being so far away from home for so long, and Trunks and Raditz are happy to see him back. They want to see how strong he's gotten, but it's just a complete domination. Goten can defeat his friends when they both use Super Saiyan 3 and fight him together. Now that he has unlocked God Ki, the gap between them has just grown extremely large. Meris arrives on Earth and goes on to find Goten, the strongest of those on Earth. He's just training near his home out in some forest and near a lake when he sees Meris arrive and aim his gun at him. Goten is immediately on edge and makes his stance. "Who are you?" he asks with authority, keeping his fists tight and ready. "I'm Meris and you're going to have to come with me. For the safety of the galaxy you must," Meris states. "What?" Goten wonders. This guy has just come up to him out of nowhere, aimed a gun at his head and said that he must go with him to some random place. Why would he follow that and possibly put himself in danger? No, he's going to fight back, just to see what happens. Racing forward with a slight smile on his face, he kicks at Meris' arm and surprises him with how strong he is. He can hit this hard. Then he whizzes around him and tries to hit him from the back of his head, but Meris is swift as well. He slips right under the attack and lets Goten's leg swerve straight over his head. This is surprising to Goten. He didn't really see Meris move upon landing that first hit, but he moved with great swiftness on the second one. Anyway, a few seconds later, Meris decides to end the fight before he can draw out and shoots him right in the chest. This leaves him unconscious and then he is taken in by Meris. Goten wakes up in this random ship and has no clue what's going on. However, he then gets told about what's happening and starts to understand why he was taken in. Meris couldn't have explained everything to him when he had just arrived, and his presence would have been too intimidating for him to make a good informed decision. Therefore, he decides to head to Namek with them and goes on alone to face Moro. Upon arriving on Namek, he feels nerves. He's never faced a threat alone and is still a young boy. However, he thinks back to the encouragement that his father and uncle always give him. He's a powerhouse, and if there's a threat, he can take it down. Therefore, he uses it to keep hope in himself. Moro stands ahead of Goten and chuckles upon seeing him. "You brought this child to face me, are you foolish?" he asks them, with a smile on his face. Goten doesn't reply and then just powers up into Super Saiyan. The ground quakes from his power up, and to be honest, he looks alarmingly muscular for a child. He has the body of an 18-year-old in the body of a young teen. His muscles are large and he doesn't have a lot of body fat covering it. After the intense training on Beerus' planet, it just toned his body to much greater levels while also giving him much more power to work with. Goten speeds off and takes Moro off guard right away. The speed at which he moves at certainly isn't something that he was expecting. Before he can even think of resisting, Goten has already punched him. Before he can get sent flying back though, Goten grabs one of his arms and then swings him down with ferocity, throwing him into the ground. That single hit places an absolutely insane amount of stress onto his arm. Once he raises back up, he looks a little concerned about what's happening. However, there are still options left for him. Lifting his hand, he begins drawing power from the world around him through the use of his magic. Not only that, he shoots up massive beams of lava that converge on the target. Goten doesn't let the fear get to him and knows he's smart enough to deal with this attack. Swiveling out the way, he then dives down and even drives himself straight through one of these lava blasts. Finally, he crashes his knee into his chest and knocks him to the ground due to his insanely high impetus. Moro, even after absorbing energy, has been hurt once again. Upon taking that attack, Moro gets this revelation. Why is he taking from the planet? He should be taking from the man that stood before him. He takes a step back up to his feet with a smile on his face and holds one of his arms out. Goten can feel this straight away and soon falls out of Super Saiyan. Falling to one knee, he just starts breathing intensely all of a sudden. His chest starts to feel heavy, like he's run a marathon or something. On top of that, when he tries to turn Super Saiyan, he finds that he can't do such. The energy that he needs to do so is gone and is now in the enemy's hands. Moro cackles before punching Goten right in the face. This strike rocks him and blood shoots out not only his mouth but his nose as well. He doesn't stop there though and continues throwing punch after punch, thrilled by the power he's attained. Goten gets roughed up and roughed up quite badly. Now that he is so injured, there's little that he can do to resist. Since there isn't a healing factor at play to heal him quickly and constant pain from the injuries he's accrued, there is a constant level of pain that is there to empower him. Even so, Moro hasn't stopped absorbing energy and has found that he can just keep taking from Goten. The strength comes with a small portion of energy as well, just as a byproduct of his abilities. However, Moro just takes it before it can be properly used. Goten is held by the neck and struggles to breathe. No matter how much he tries to resist, he just can't. Moro just throws him onto the floor and looks down at him with disdain. Goten backs off by pushing himself away slowly and weakly, with Moro just watching with a smile on his face. "Don't try and interfere with my mission again," he states, before getting Cranberry and taking his leave. terribly injured, Goten actually gets taken in by Mori. Just by looking at him, he can see that he's been through a war. However, he can see the look of someone else that he has seen before, Goku, the savior of planet Namek. Some people claim he was a demon with his own agendas. Others claim he was a saint arriving on Namek to fight against evil and install peace across the planet. Some people detail his endurance and his strong will to protect, while others describe it as a sinister desire for bloodshed, a craving for battle and murder. They were just lucky they weren't within his crosshairs. However, regardless of all of that, he knows he needs to save him. Therefore, he takes him in and arrives at his dwelling to heal the boy. He is conscious soon after and a little shaken up by the whole thing. It's only the second time he's fought any proper villain, but he feels like he has a better chance this time. It doesn't totally demotivate him. By the time Moro has acquired his 6 Dragon Balls, Goten feels ready. During this time, he started to think about what to do once he faces Moro again. He doesn't want to be defeated again. The planet might be over if that happens. Therefore, he chooses to analyze the situation and who he's up against. He can absorb his own energy, but this is a process that clearly takes time. He can't instantly take all his energy, but can only do so slowly and gradually. Therefore, if he chooses to go all out from the beginning, he might be able to win it. He just has to make sure that he can take him out before Moro can resort to his energy absorption to weaken him. Once he is fully healed, he can see that Moro has acquired 6 Dragon Balls and is going for his 7th and final one. Moro arrives in front of him and begins staring him down with clenched fists. This will be the last time that he takes this fight. If he doesn't win this now, he's not sure if he can win the fight a 3rd time. Not only is he absorbing energy from him, he's absorbing energy from all the life around him. That means he is constantly going to get stronger. Moro is confident since he has been absorbing energy and storming his way across the entire planet like an emperor. All those that resist him have fallen, and Goten will do the same again, he believes. Goten, without another second wasted, enters his Super Saiyan Blue form and darts toward Moro. Even if Moro has gotten stronger, he is still old. The first punch that Goten lands breaks many of his ribs. Before he is sent flying, Goten swings up for a kick to his chin and launches him into the sky. Goten darts after him and continues with a complete sense of focus and determination. Not even a single sense of emotion can be seen in his face. Moro does start to absorb his energy, but in just seconds he's starting to get hurt really badly, really quickly. Soon Moro is on the ground crawling away from Goten as he coughs out blood. Now Goten is won. He should just end things. However, he feels a sense of guilt and sadness upon seeing the struggle that Moro is going through. Even if he is evil, it feels wrong to have left him in such a state. However, he stops looking at him and then looks up. This planet, this peace. This can only remain if he is gone. Unlike Zamasu, he doesn't even have ideals that could be challenged. He is simply evil. There's nothing left for him. Either he is returned to prison or he is killed. Maris lands in front of him before he can take more action and takes things out of his hands. Trapping him in that blue substance, Moro is left unable to resist it and is taken in. "You did amazing here, child. Be proud of yourself," Maris states. "Thank you, sir," Goten says, awkwardly smiling from this compliment. Maris takes Moro back to prison and then returns Goten to Earth. Once he arrives, there are many questions. One day he was training and he was fine, and the next he had basically gone missing. Even the Saiyans from Beerus' planet return to Earth, but once he arrives, Goku senses his ki and can see that he is okay. Goku didn't actually have to wait for Goten to return to Earth. As soon as he headed to Earth, he could sense Goten's ki all the way from Namek. Shortly after, he arrives and they find that he's okay. Not only that, but he's fought some massive threat, and Goku rubs his hair with a smile, proud of his son for what he's done. Shortly after this, Granolah goes on to try and wish for him to be the strongest in the universe, to exact his revenge against the Saiyans. Sadly, there isn't much that he can do. He tries to make the wish, but Goku has grown incredibly strong. I mean, the life force that he'd require to do this is just way too high. Goku's base form has now grown far past Beerus, and he is now relative to Whis. Vegeta and Raditz are now stronger as well, closer to Beerus. These two have unlocked Ultra Instinct. For Vegeta, it was a long journey. However, he had to throw everything away. All those thoughts that kept him alert in battle had to be thrown away. His inferiority complex had to be analysed and slowly but steadily broken down. Now that he has unlocked Ultra Instinct, he's like a new person. He seems a lot more serious than he was before, and not negative in nature. He isn't bubbly like Goku or warm and jokey like Raditz, but just neutral. He is still a Saiyan warrior that loves that battle, and as a result he unlocks true Ultra Instinct right after getting MUI. He finds that MUI is just not great for him at all, and true UI is a much easier form for him to get used to. Vegeta and Raditz stand by each other with their arms crossed as they face Beerus. After training Goku, Beerus became more involved in the growth and development of the other Saiyans. He was there to oversee their growth and spar them when needed. Vegeta and Raditz look at each other and then nod. Let's get to work, Raditz says. It's been so long now and they think that is time. They have grown and continue growing, utilising that Saiyan ability of infinite progress. This should be their win. Beerus continues with his arms crossed and waits for them to advance first. Raditz begins using UI Aiming and Vegeta does the same. They both power up and their majestic galactical auras mix together. Pristine dots of white light float in their auras and they both soar forward to begin the fight. Beerus slips past Raditz's first punch but then gets hit in the face by Vegeta. As he is sent flying back, he tries to clip at Vegeta before the distance between them grows too large. However, Vegeta just flows out the way and crashes into his chest, slamming him into the ground. Raditz then throws a ki blast at him, but Beerus meets his own with a Hakai blast. Now, he doesn't look as calm and relaxed as before. Beerus was expecting them to be strong, but not this strong. Before you can even take any more time for thought, the two Saiyans are already charging at him again. Raditz clashes with Beerus and they both grasp hands and push against each other as hard as they possibly can. Raditz grits his teeth and tries his hardest to overpower Beerus. He believes in his superior size and larger physique, but Beerus can still push back and keep him at bay. Don't think that because you're bigger than me that you can just push me around, Beerus says. He's thrown to the side then kicked in the head. Then Beerus grabs Vegeta by the neck before he can hit him with any sort of attack. Slamming him down, he grunts from the pain, then Beerus begins truly showing off his skill against Raditz. He's fought against the Ultra Instinct power for many millennia and bombards him with a barrage of Hakai blasts. These blasts keep him at bay, but Raditz doesn't let it get to him. The challenge is hard to overcome and he then ascends into true Ultra Instinct. Well, this isn't much of a separate form, but it still is a different state to UI Omen. His appearance doesn't change much, but Raditz chooses to fight in a more Saiyan way and with greater ferocity. As Beerus is occupied with Raditz, Vegeta sweeps in from the side and lands a clean punch to his jaw. As Beerus falls back, the duo rushes him and begins landing a sequence of attacks onto him. Now this starts to change the dynamics. Maybe, just maybe, they can take the win home here. Beerus is struggling to deal with their attacks as they come in from so many angles. They continue to fly at him from pretty much everywhere, but he blocks the last few, falls back and stays back for a while. This is just for him to get back his senses and recalculate. Now with both of these Saiyans in true Ultra Instincts, they stand before him. This isn't as easy as you thought it would be, is it, Beerus? Vegeta asks, while waiting for his breath to steady. No, that is true. It isn't, Beerus replies, while looking up with a fiery purple aura enveloping him. Charging forward, he finger flicks a blast at them, but their Ultra Instinct keeps them safe. Not only that, but the shockwave from his advancement pushes them back slightly in their fight. A massive explosion is released, and Beerus then slams a rock toward the two of them. Using his detonation, he sent sliding back, but so are the Saiyans. The explosion is too quick for their Ultra Instinct to be of good use here. They're forced to take the blast, then Beerus flows straight through it and attacks them right away. Vegeta takes a punch straight to his gut, but what he finds is that it doesn't just take him out. As for Raditz that gets caught in the crossfire, he can still roll down and out the way in time. They have a chance and that chance is now. Both look at each other thinking the exact same thing. Vegeta rushes toward Beerus, leaping right over his first punch to kick him in the face. As Beerus falls back, Raditz catches him with a punch to his cheek, then Vegeta drives forward with a relentless flurry of punches with Beerus startled. Beerus can't even see the attacks as they come, and whenever he tries to attack back, he can swivel out the way and evade the incoming strikes using his Ultra Instinct. Beerus just ends up taking far too much damage. The Saiyans start to work together with great chemistry, utilizing their power in numbers to take the win. Beerus starts to grow wary and weaker from these incurred injuries, and he really struggles. Fighting against two people at once isn't something that he's done very much at all up until recently. Vegeta takes a strong step forward and lands a knockout punch to Beerus that sent him down to the ground. He is sent sliding down and looked to be unconscious for a time. He gets up quick enough for the Saiyans to not bat an eye, but Whis does. Appearing ahead of them, he aims their staff forward. He comes in with the anxiety that he does when facing Goku as he uses Ultra Ego, but he swiftly sees that they aren't like that right now. As soon as they see Whis stepping in, they step down and return to their base forms. What is next though is Goku to show off the powers that he's gained. He's had a lot of time to hone his skills and has exploded in power. Nobody really knows how strong he's become because he hasn't had a lot of time to fight anyone. Even with solitary training, his special abilities still mean that he grows extremely quickly. Standing before Whis, he closes his eyes and his hair starts to flow. It flows wildly and he then looks up with a smile on his face. His hair switches to a violet colour and his aura switches to the same hue as well. Goku looks back up with the eyes of Ultra Ego and charges off toward Whis. He blasts off with insane speed and cackles as he does so. The thrill of the fight is something that he can't miss upon. Whis, although, is far too elegant for this rash style of battle. Keep rushing forward like a headless chicken and you won't hit me, Whis shouts. Alright then, let's see how you do against this, Goku shouts, throwing out at least 20 purple balls of ki. They don't explode but swing around Whis and then stay in position. They completely surround him and then they all detonate wildly, with Goku even detonating some of the ground beneath as well. The level of destruction caused is something that shocks the onlooking Saiyans. Goku really has gotten stronger over this time. The ground looks totally different after this sequence of explosions, but Whis stands guarded by his energy shield. It doesn't even have a crack and he's doing just fine. The smoke around him clears and he then leaps off to go on the attack. Kicking him in the chest, he then swings up from a kick to his chin, followed by a whipping strike to one of his arms using his staff. Goku is knocked right off course and feels a burning agony from his arm. However, for some weird reason, it just doesn't put him off. He just stands back up and gives off a sinister smile, continuing the battle. This game continues where Goku rushes forward and Whis keeps him at bay with the combination of his power and Ultra Instinct. Blood soon oozes down Goku's face and body, but he continues like some form of immortal being. No matter what damage he sustains, he just carries and carries on. Whis whips in a hit with his staff, leading Goku to fall to his knees and cough out blood. However, his bloody teeth return in style and he slowly raises up one foot. Whis looks at him and just finds it confusing as to why he fights in this way. After being taught Ultra Instinct from an extremely young age, he's always thought that this was the absolute supreme form of fighting. However, this barbaric route is actually something legit for Goku. He doesn't mind taking damage and fighting with that anyway. Goku stands and coughs out even more blood, mixed in with broken laughter. There's nothing else like this, is there? Goku shouts out, shaking off his arms. Whis charges forward and swings in another hit with his staff. Continue like that and you won't be able to fight. I know you get stronger when you get hurt, but attacks can incapacitate you and kill you. Still learn how to defend, Whis explains, holding his staff at him. Goku's head is still lowered, and if the people were around to see this massive grin on his face, they'd think someone else has taken over his mind like Zamasu or someone. Looking back up, the smile isn't as wide as it just was, but still slightly creepy. Leaping at Whis, he gets hit in the cheek yet again and then gets kicked in the stomach. Whis is just going to town on him at this point. It feels kind of bad to watch. However, Goku smiles again and just socks Whis as hard as he can. Now, Whis wasn't expecting the power that Goku is showcasing here. He gets knocked back a step by the hit, then gets hit again with a kick to his outer leg. Now that hit hurts him. This isn't something that he has felt in millennia. After being trained by his father, he hasn't really fought someone that has hurt him in this way. It's like a new experience entirely. He smirks slightly before blocking a punch aimed head on at his face. Crossing his arms over, the fist lands on the crossover point and slides him across the blue grass of Beerus' planet. Cocking back both hands, Goku savagely goes in with an energy wave of pure Hakai energy. Whis does manage to slip out the way in time, using his staff to maneuver away with greater speed, and the blast slams right into the massive tree at the center of the planet. It shaves off a massive portion of it, with some of the tree coming tumbling down as well. Whis wants to end things now before things get too dangerous, but he doesn't. Instead, tapping his staff down, an energy shield covers them both, allowing them to fight to their heart's content. Goku continues fighting with that same ferocity that Whis is used to. What he isn't used to is the power and speed that he is using to do it though. He can whiz around and actually become a blur to Whis, and is finding ways to combat that nifty Ultra Instinct of his. Kneeing Whis straight into his chest, he launches him into the edge of his energy shield and then throws a Hakai blast straight at him. He just about manages to evade the first, but a second comes his way. With his staff in hand, he pushes against the ground and finds that he is still terribly off balance. He might not evade in time. The blast is travelling very fast and gets quite close, but time slows down to him, almost to a stop. He then starts thinking about how he can get out of this. As he thinks, he isn't thinking using concrete logic and words, but instead sharp, abstract concepts. This is all he can do since the blast is literally about to hit him. Adrenaline has taken over as this blast could hurt quite badly. Immortals aren't killed by Hakai blasts, but leaves them in a bad way. There isn't any option though. The blast lands right on him and turns the energy shield into a complete white light. The intense pressure on the barrier as well causes cracks to appear across its surface. It isn't much longer before it completely shatters, leaving Whis to get sent crashing and rolling away. Now that hurt. Struggling up, he coughs out blood, and Goku isn't even exhilarated by this. It's not remorse or guilt, but he feels surprise. This intense surprise at seeing Whis in this defeated way is enough to get him to snap out of it. Seconds later, he brings himself into his base again, and the emotions rush in and flood through him. Rushing over to Whis, he helps him up and places an arm over his shoulder. "I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have gone so hard there," Goku says with a shaky voice. He feels like he was taken over there, and he practically was. Maybe it wasn't the best for him to indulge in that growing darkness within him. It hasn't changed him but formed a new him, someone that takes over in battle and fights with true and sinister brutality, with an insatiable bloodthirst. Don't worry, you're stronger than the angels now. You should be a lot happier than you are right now, Beerus says from beside him. Nobody matches you, he states, as Whis is then healed through the use of his own powers. He exhales with relief and then nods toward Goku with a beaming smile on his face. I never thought you'd do it, but you have. Congratulations, but you're the strongest mortal of all time, and by a strong margin. You three take up second to fourth place, I'm sure, Whis says, before looking toward Raditz, Vegeta and Goten. Thanks Whis, thanks a lot, Goku replies. Thinking back to the whole darkness he was forced to intensify, he wonders if it really was a bad thing to let this grow inside him. I mean, he hasn't lost anyone around him. This pain is the reason that Goten is here by his side, along with Vegeta and Raditz as his closest comrades. It's the reason Goten was able to go off on his own and defeat Moro to protect the universe. It's the reason their universe never ended up going through the risk of the Tournament of Power. After these thoughts race through his mind, he just exhales and calms. It's probably for the better, he thinks, staring off into the sky above. So that will conclude What If Goku Got Stronger from Pain. Please tell me something you liked about this What If, or something that I should improve on for the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.